I'll work on that. I'm going to find a way to make everybody like me, ever. It's going to be so good.
Kill them.
Hello? Hello? Are you there?
In the halls of Transylvania, in the Vampire Hall of Fame, yeah, there's not a vampire zanier than Dracula.
I didn't expect you to do that. I haven't heard that song in a long time either. It's good to hear it again.
So it's a nice surprise when you hear the Dracula theme tune. It's when it starts the day off very nicely.
Yeah, especially instead of just a regular hello.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could get that going amongst everyone.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah.
You know, you welcome Obama and Mitt Romney up for a debate, and they just sing vampire-themed cartoon lyrics at each other. It doesn't have to be Dracula. It could be Mona the Vampire. Could be Little Dracula. Could be, if you want to be really obscure, it could be Dr. Zitbag's Transylvania Pet Shop. Really doesn't matter.
Zitbag?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dr. Zitbag's Transylvania Pet Shop.
That doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. There was a guy called Dr. Zitbag. He ran a pet shop in Transylvania.
What? And was it a scary pet shop?
Well, he sold various monstrous items. He had a dog. I can't remember what it was called. Bone or something. It was a skeleton dog. He had Zombunny, which was a zombie bunny.
That sounds pretty good.
The antagonist was a devilish policeman without a neck, and his head just floated above his body.
What? When did this come out? This sounds so good.
It was sometime in the 90s.
Yeah, was this like in the pussy, disgusting post-Garbage Pail Kids era when it was all about slime and farts and whatnot?
I think it was a little bit later. I think that's why it never caught on. I think it arrived a bit too late.
Right.
And they didn't really deliver on the Transylvanian aspect. It was mostly Dr. Zitbag just getting into some Fawlty Towers-esque scrape and then going about his business. It wasn't like Trapdoor or anything.
What's Trapdoor? What's that?
Trapdoor was like a claymation animation. It was like 5 minutes long, and it was about this blue thing called Burke that lived in a castle, and he'd make food and go, "Oh, sniff that," and he'd make food for the thing upstairs that would go, "Burke, feed me." And every episode, the trapdoor would be left open, and a different monster would come out.
This sounds incredible. This was all in England, I assume.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I don't know if we got any of this.
Don't you open that trapdoor! Because there's something down there. Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
80s and 90s, ladies and gentlemen. We don't talk about them ever on Podtoid.
Well, the American listeners, and there are a few, and Australian listeners too. I don't know if they had those shows either. It's great for you to educate them on all the stuff they missed, like Trapdoor.
Yeah, I think so. I can't stop thinking about S Club 7.
And that's a rock and roll group, right?
It's a pop group from 1999. It made a small amount of headway in America. I say this because I heard coming out of a store out in Mississippi, S Club Party playing over the speakers, which surprised me. And ever since then, I've not stopped thinking about S Club 7, which I've now decided is morally and philosophically acceptable to enjoy.
Was it not at one time? Was it philosophically objectionable?
They were one of the first manufactured pop groups. There were 7 of them, and none of them played instruments.
And they was it all girls or something, or was it dudes?
I think it was 4 girls to 3 guys. I think.
Oh, okay. Huh. Interesting.
And they'd go reach for the stars. Da 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 da.
It doesn't sound good at all. That sounds really boring.
It's better when you're a professional singer backed up by a lot of machines to sing even better. I'm neither of those things. I'm neither a professional singer nor a machine.
Yeah, but you've got a genuine charm that I think the people enjoy. Funny you would mention manufactured groups because I just found out I was mentioned in a new PBS video about manufactured groups. One of them being Hatsume Miku. Is that how you say her name? She's the pop star in Japan who is.
The turquoise-haired lady.
That's the one. Our mutual friend Colette Bennett dresses as her now and again.
Oh yes, she does. No, she actually looks. She does a lot of cosplay stuff. So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. She's very good at it. Hatsume Miku, in case the listeners don't know, it's a weird phenomena that's not getting old to people in Japan anyway. It's still really popular. She has quite a few games out. She's got a new 3DS game in Japan. It's a rhythm action game. And more or less, it's a virtual icon. She's not a real person. Everyone knows this, and everyone has the capacity to make Hatsume Miku music. It's all just open to people to use her particular voice sample or voice effect on your own voice so you can sound like you're her. And as such, she has a huge following, and the concerts are always sold out, even though it's just like a hologram of her on stage, because everyone who loves her feels like they also actually like are her because they can make music as her whenever they want. So it's kind of like how people love a video game character like it's a separate entity, but at the same time it's an extension of themselves because they spend all the time playing the video game as them. So it's a weird thing. And PBS just did a video about how she is more legit than Lana Del Rey, and they sort of did a loving poke at me at the end. Kind of
Loving poke.
I didn't mean it. Oh, I didn't mean it like that.
Ho ho ho
It was a
ho ho.
jab. It wasn't a
Hee hee
jab.
hee.
It
Ha ha.
wasn't a poke.
Hardy har har. Another whimsical chortling.
No, I shouldn't have said poke. It was more of a what's another word
Ram
for
up
poke?
the anus. They gave you a joshing anal cramming. How about that?
A jab, an anal jab.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rectal frenzy.
that's what they did. That's what they did. Because I posted about their original video. They just started this whole series, which I think people should watch because it's good about media in general. And the guys doing it seem to really be into video games. And their first episode that I saw anyway was about how Super Mario Brothers is like surrealist art. And I like half jokingly said that that's kind of an old idea when I wrote about it for Dtoid, and I wanted to give them some press and kind of dig up people's feelings about it while I did that. But yeah, they jabbed right back at me and made fun of my thoughts about Pac-Man, which is that it is the ultimate metaphor for man's futile attempt to escape death by consuming all the natural resources around him in a failed attempt to feel like they have some power over their destiny. Yeah. What do you think of that, Jim?
It's quite a good metaphor, actually.
No, thanks. I've always seen Pac-Man that
I
way
like
ever
that.
since I was a little
That's like
tight.
something I could have Virgilio Armandio say on a video.
Exactly. It is me channeling my inner douchebag.
I actually did come up with one. I think it was about denying one's homosexual urges in a modern oppressive society. I came up with some bullshit explanation as to why Pac-Man reflected that. Can't quite remember it exactly now.
I could see that. Like, the ghosts are the ghost of his gay lifestyle that he can't face. He's always running from it, except for those times he takes enough crystal meth where he just goes wild.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
eats
I mean,
it all
obviously,
up.
being a satire, it could get away with being offensive in suggesting that gay people do nothing but take crystal meth.
Yeah,
Which would be satirical, of course, because it's always funny to see someone trying to look progressive and being
and then
offensive
and
in
being a
doing
total.
so. Yeah.
Indeed. I think that's funny. I try to do
Like,
that for joke sometimes, but people just think I'm serious a lot, which is the price you pay, I guess,
yeah.
for do jokes.
The
I mean,
Escapists didn't quite get Virgilio Armandio. I did a Jimquisition extra last
oh
week.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was actually an old pilot because I like the Virgilio character. I think this for those that don't watch my videos, I've got this intermittent character called Virgilio Armandio, who is this pompous, pretentious art critic who tries to find artistic meanings in some of the most vapid games around. Some people thought I was trying to say something like deeper than it is. There's no great biting satire to them. I just think it's funny trying to extrapolate the most pretentious meanings possible from something that essentially has no meaning, or the meaning is very self-explanatory, like Space Invaders. Like, it's fucking Space Invaders, you know? But to then turn that into some sort of gender warfare thing, I find amusing. And that's really all there is to it. But the Escapists didn't quite get it. I think I might have to just force it down their throats like I did with the regular show until they like it. But it's cool. It's cool. It was split. Some people enjoyed it, some people didn't. But it's a shame. I always thought that character had like some real potential. But
He does, absolutely, he does. But I think the thing is, it's a very specific group, and it's not necessarily a small group, but it's a specific group that even gets that there are people that overanalyze video games at all. And they may not be the group that are already watching your show or even going to Destructoid. I think they may be going to Gama Sutra or God knows where. So just getting them to know that your show exists and to watch it would take a little bit, I think. I'm definitely having that with my new show, Sup Holmes. People are like, oh, I wanted you to just annoy women again. Do that show. Like, yeah, the people who do want to watch the show are still just finding out that it exists. We had Adam Saltzman, the developer of Cannonball, on, and that brought in some viewers, I think, because he's a well-known dude, and he did a great job on the show. You guys should all watch it for Adam's talk. He did a good talk.
Cannonball is a good game.
It is.
I like it. I play it on my iPod. Play it on Google. I did it on a Google.
Yeah.
And that was all of the times that I did it.
That's plenty. And he's got a new app, the Hunger Games app.
The Hunger Games, yeah. Oh, that's good. The Hunger Games is out.
Mm.
This is my job for the week. Buy the book of the Hunger Games, right? Yeah. Read the book of the Hunger Games. And then just sneer at everyone else. And go, oh, you're a fan of the Hunger Games, are you? Have you read the book? No, you haven't read the book, have you? I have. I'm better at Hunger Games than you. So that's one thing I'm going to do. I'm also going to watch Battle Royale. And say, right. I'm going to say, hey, you. Hey, come over here, little boy. Do you like the Hunger Games? Yes, oh, yes. So do I. I liked it better when it was called Battle Royale. Now go read the book, you little tomorrow. I'm better at Hunger Games than all of y'all. All y'all sorry mofos. I'm better at the Hunger Games than all of you. I'm going to go on my Facebook and do a drawing of a book and write Hunger Games on it and say, I've read this. And you haven't. You're not allowed to watch films.
Wow, I didn't realize that character was so prone to just going for a long time.
Anyway, that's my what I'm gonna do. That was like a cross between Lloyd Grossman and Jane Gum. But yeah, so I mean, I've just noticed a lot of that around. Just a lot of it. Every time a book based on a film and is similar to maybe another film comes out, you see it all the time. And I want in on the ground floor this time.
Yeah,
I want to be the one snootily because I missed out on Harry Potter. I missed out on Lord of the Rings, and no one watched Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Fucking prick.
Is that what it's called?
Something like that. I missed out on all that. But this time, I'm around for the Hunger Games, so I'm gonna really fucking make really snotty little Twitter and if people haven't got it, I'm making fun of people that do that.
Right.
So that just so I can drop the incredible amounts of subtlety that I've been displaying.
It speaks to a thing that I'm getting accused of lately by a few people, which is this kind of cultural superiority idea. Because you know what I'm like, Jim. I like stuff that is weird sometimes. And I'll
Sure.
even talk about liking weird stuff and not liking stuff that is considered more mainstream. Though in my brain, I like a lot of stuff that I would consider mainstream, like just Mario Party. It's pretty good. But anyway, people are continuing to think that I'm doing this to try to gain some sort of cultural high ground and claim that I'm superior, like I'm more cultured because I like Katamari Damacy more than Halo, for instance. Is it cultured to like Katamari Damacy, Jim? Is that the with all the Hottentots and the snoots are all, at their fancy dinner
Yeah.
parties, drinking their tea and having their Cristal and saying, Katamari Damacy. Oh, how do you like that? I don't. I think I'm just weird. I'm not culturally superior for just having uncommon tastes
I
sometimes.
think the round ball in KT as we call it, represents the id. I know what the id is because I read it in a book that one time. So I think id and superego is another word I know, which I saw on Wikipedia. Oh, you don't know what Wikipedia is? Google it, son. Google it.
There are people that feel really socially superior because they know
You
about
shouldn't be
Wikipedia.
superior about anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I was being superior about people feeling superior. So it's
Yeah.
it's a vicious cycle. It's the mouse eats the cheese, and the cat eats the mouse, and the dog eats the cat, and the horse eats the dog, and the elephant eats the horse.
I always thought that was a weird sexual metaphor. The part where the old lady is she eats the spider and it like wiggled and giggled inside her. I was just died at that part. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh
When I
yeah,
just yeah, you know what I'm saying. The old
can't
woman who
wait.
swallowed the fly.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to make my spider wiggle and giggle inside your old woman.
that would be that would be great if buttholes were now called old women. It'd be both insulting to old women and butts everywhere. Everyone would be sad about it. Yeah, we're going to E3 pretty soon, aren't we? I have to buy my ticket, I guess.
I don't want to go. I am
That's
too
what always
fat.
happens.
I am too fat for events.
Are you sure? I don't know if that's true.
I did
Well,
an event this
only
week.
yeah, you. That's why the show was a little late this week. What were
Too
you doing this
fucking
week?
fat.
No, what
Oh,
event did you do? Was it great?
I don't feel good because I had to walk for a bit.
Well, you've walked for
Fucking
a long time. I've walked
fat.
with you for some time.
Fucking fuck. No, tell you what though,
Yeah,
might not be as fat for a minute
you got
because
less fat.
I feel better.
Good.
I've been doing working out.
Oh wow, man, awesome.
Proper working out as well, not just I lift my sandwich. I got a bike, alright?
Oh
Static bike,
yeah.
half hour every day on it.
Oh Jesus.
I've only been doing it for a week, but I feel pretty damn good.
Oh awesome.
So I've been doing that. I've also been doing what I call the iTunes model of weight loss.
Oh okay.
Because I am a lazy prick. Okay? And that is working to my advantage because,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Rather than get, say, a Red Baron's 4-cheese pizza for the oven, I get a small microwave lean choices pizza that's like 300 calories or something.
Mm-hmm.
Whack that in the micro for 3 minutes. Easy. Easier. It's actually easier to eat the healthy thing than it is to cook up the fattening fat man thing.
Yeah.
In the
That,
same way that it's easier for me to buy a song on iTunes than illegally download it, I have adapted the way you fight piracy to the way you fight being a fat prick. So I'm thinking outside the box. I've been doing the decent eating for maybe a couple of months now.
Oh, really?
It's actually been going
Awesome.
pretty well. I've had the occasional fatty bum bum dinner, but the lunches are doing well. Doing a lot more cooking and stuff. Doing that exercise half hour every day, straight into it. Some people just do 10, 15 minutes, but it's when you first start. But I'm like, I got to the 15-minute mark, and I'm like, oh, fuck it. So I got this far, do half hour. I haven't finished watching Spaced on Netflix yet. So it's going pretty well.
Sounds awesome.
It's all right. It's good because my job obviously is a lot of sitting down, and that makes your legs ache, and you need the circulation. So after just one day of doing it, I felt better. I felt like the circulation was going through all day. So it's worth it for that alone. And I'm feeling all right. Feeling pretty good.
That's awesome. So in it is 69 days till E3, I believe.
Yeah, someone tweeted about that because they said it was funny because gay sex, me and you, gay sex.
So in those days, geez, I was losing, because I had to lose weight once too, and I think I ended up losing like 2 pounds a week. So that's 69 by 7. You could lose like 20 pounds by then, I think. That could be fun.
Maybe. I hope it pays off. I'm trying not to make a big, dramatic deal out of it,
Yeah.
I never think that works. It's just, I've got the thing there. I'm scheduling half hour every day where it's got to be done. I didn't want to do it today because I had the travelling yesterday and I felt like shit from that. But
Sure.
you feel bad not doing it. And I think that's a good position to be in, so...
Absolutely.
Sat up there, I was doing all my pedaling, all that nice. So, we'll see. I'm not expecting, that I'll stop looking like Dennis Nedry anytime soon.
But you're hopeful, and something's
I'm keeping
gonna
at
change.
it.
Yeah,
Either way,
absolutely.
even after just a week of it, my strength's up. It's gone up. So,
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
it's
And
good.
once you've made progress, you don't want to lose it. That's the other thing. Once you make gains like that. So, what event were you at? Anything good?
The event. Yeah, I played Aliens: Colonial Marines.
Oh, that's a game that you like. At least you like the idea of it.
Well, I love alien stuff.
All right.
I've got a shelf right next to me full of alien stuff. I've got all the goods.
So, how was the video game there? Can you talk about it and tell us?
No, I can't say anything.
Oh, come on! You can't even say like.
I had to sign shit. I hate that. It's always horrible signing
Can
shit.
you make a sound? Like you don't even have to open your mouth. It can all be out of your nose, just expressing how you felt about it.
That's as far as I'm gonna go.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. A bad sound would be like.
But that could be interpreted either way.
That's true.
I tend to make. It was good. I got to see Mikey Newman. Right.
Oh yeah, I don't know him, but he seems nice.
He's a great guy. It's always good to. We just ended up having I was supposed to be interviewing him. We just had a nerdy conversation about the merits of Alien Resurrection.
Oh, all right. Really, he likes that too.
It's all right. I would. That film is okay. I'm not going into that again. I'm not going into Alien Resurrection again.
I can go into it with you. I like it. It's got some parts. If it were an aliens movie, people would be much less critical of it. If it was just like a monsters in space movie.
Have I told you the bit of trivia about it?
I don't think so.
The fact that Whedon wrote it as a comedy. Was it Whedon or the other one that people like?
No, I think you might be right.
I might be right. I always get the name between him and the guy who was Wesley Crusher mixed up.
Oh yeah.
Willy Wonka.
That's there's Josh Whedon and then Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. I always
Like
mix them up. Yeah, it's not Willy Wonka. It's Will Wheaton.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Wheaton and Whedon.
Josh Whedon. He did Alien Resurrection. He wrote it as a comedy. That thing was supposed to be a straight up satire.
Really?
Yeah. But then obviously executives got their dirty little claws in it and they wanted something serious. So you've got this very almost schizophrenic, more bipolar film that is stupid 1 second and trying to expect to be taken seriously the next. It's a very odd film. Like 1 minute you've got Winona Ryder having emotions, and the next you've got that little fella in the wheelchair coming out the elevator going, "Who you expecting?"
And he's in all the French people movies. Genet and Caro, the people who did Amelie and City of Lost Children, who weirdly directed that movie.
It's a weird movie.
It is. It is.
Everything in it and around it. It's got some great scenes with the Xenos in. Like,
Sure.
the scene with Brad Dourif as the scientist, like, testing them in a lab and stuff. It's some good xenomorphs, like, stuff. I mean, it's got Brad Dourif in it. That's Brad Dourif and Ron Perlman. So,
You're right. I've ribbed you. I've lovingly ribbed you and said, "Oh, it's the worst movie ever made," but it's not. It's got some good parts.
It's got some good stuff.
Sure.
And Alien 3, I legitimately, like, not even with any disclaimer, legitimately is a good film.
It's very well made.
Says it's good film, and I laugh when Newt dies. I don't care what anyone else says. I think it's fucking funny. That was a thing Mikey and I were arguing about when we were supposed to be having an interview. Me trying to convince him that it's funny when she dies.
Do they show her dying? I think
you see a little like milky corpse.
Yeah, I remember that.
Going.
I sort of feel like Alien 3 is the Mass Effect 3 ending, because it had to come up again this week, of movies, because people had decided what they wanted Alien 3 to be way before it came out. And even though the ending, even though Alien 3 is a well-made movie, David Fincher, people think he's good, it just wasn't what people already wanted, so that really pissed off a lot of people when it first came out. Yeah.
I don't know, the Mass Effect 3 thing, I was looking at it this week. I've been looking at it because Movie Bob, who I don't agree with everything he says. I think I'm like 50% I agree with the guy, 50% I don't. And he really went after the BioWare fans. Took a lot of the heat off me, actually, which I appreciate. But he was talking about, because BioWare's talking about changing the ending or putting on an addendum or something, to which Movie Bob said that they've set the medium back creatively 10 years by caving or what have you. But the more I look at it, I mean, I do kind of see both sides now. It's like, I get on one side you've got this risk of this Misery style thing where the fans are being too possessive. On the other, if BioWare felt they can change the ending, it clearly wasn't a good enough ending to begin with, because if it was an ending they truly believed in, as creators, they would stand by it. You know what I mean? If they feel they can change it, it's like, well, obviously you didn't have the courage of your convictions the first time around. And I have checked out the ending, and it ain't great. I can see why some people would feel shortchanged.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, if the ending was a creative tour de force and people still wanted it changed, I would definitely be more against it. But I'm very 50-50 now. I still maintain that calling yourself Retake Mass Effect, I know that there's a play on words thing going on. It just sounds, and I think we've had so many gamers boycott over so many silly things that when something does come along that people really do care about, it's hard to take it seriously. I think a lot of the histrionics in the past have bred this cynicism. So, I've been trying this week to be a bit more fair. I think I'm going to do one last Jimquisition on the topic of on anything Mass Effect, and then I'm never going to talk about the game again. I might do that this week, just looking at it from both sides, because I do think there are two sides to it, and I never really spoke about the general consensus. I only really spoke about the extremists, the guys that were taking it too far. So it'd be nice to be a bit more balanced and show that some of these criticisms are valid,
Oh, sure. My thought on it is, just from a philosophical standpoint, I think it's bad for the audience to dictate what the artist makes. I think that's bad for the audience. I think it's bad for the artist, because artists are supposed to express themselves, not just regurgitate what the audience demanded, because then you're no longer making art, you're just making a product. And likewise, it diminishes the audience's motivation to make their own stuff. If people really want Mass Effect to have a different ending, they can write some really good fan fiction. Maybe it'll be great to read. But if they just say, "Hey, make a thing for me," BioWare, and then BioWare snaps up and does it, that's just a bad process for everybody involved. That said, if I were BioWare, or more so if I were EA, and I saw all this publicity around this big ending that isn't really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, and they have some money to be made, sure, I'd be like, yeah, we'll make you another ending if you buy it, and they will. So why not, at this point, capitalize on all the money to be made? And if that's what they want to do for the money, that's fine. It's not erasing the past ending, so it's still there. Artistically, they can have their integrity for their original vision and then just do another one for the cash. That's probably what a good publisher would do, if you define good publisher by how much money they make.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the way I look at it, I mean, because I spoke about the Little Shop of Horrors thing, which steams me up. But I guess, I mean, the thing about game endings in particular, most of them are really, like, shat out at the last second just to get the game done.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's like, is it art at that point, or was it a product just shat out to ship, you know?
Well, yeah.
If the ending really did mean nothing to BioWare, then I guess it's not really compromising anything artistically to change it, because it meant nothing. So, and there's this idea that Movie Bob was bringing up, in that the audience don't have a say. And I'm not quite sure I agree with that, because I do think feedback from the audience can be valuable. It's been incredibly invaluable to me as in my more creative endeavors. Things like the Jimquisition and even this show, working out what people want and trying to give it to them, the people that have been kind enough to support that kind of stuff. So I don't want to come down on either side, because I think there's been shitty things on either end. Be it EA's business decisions, be it the more dramatic and just vicious outcry from some of the fans. I do think it's a lot more complex than a lot of people, myself included, have been sort of seeing it as.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Okay.
Save me from my rambling.
Let's say you write something. You write a editorial, and you thought it through really well. You thought it was really good. You post it, and then the fans come in and point out things they didn't like about it. You feel like your point didn't come across the way you wanted it to. There's a lot of misunderstandings. Do you go back in and rewrite the post that you already made and hope no one notices? Or do you just try to make the next one better? You know what I mean? To me, it's clear that you leave what you did there for better or worse, and then just try to take feedback into making your next project better, as opposed to just kind of reworking the same stuff over and over again. And then, you rewrite it, and then people say, oh, I didn't like your rewrites, and you end up just writing the same feature for the rest of your life instead of moving on to new stuff. That's what I would worry about if this becomes too big of a thing. Too common of an occurrence. I mean, people complaining about not liking the way a game was made, and then it just gets patched and remade forever. That would be sucky.
I think it all depends on how strongly the creator feels about what they've created. As I say, if BioWare's willing to change this ending, I don't think they had the courage of their convictions in the first place. So I see it as nothing lost.
Right. Right.
Conversely, we have something like, we were talking about Alien 3. And the theatrical version of Alien 3 is, it's okay. It's alright. But when the director went back and recut it and made the director's version, it changed some pretty big things. It added stuff, like the alien no longer came from a dog, it came from an ox, in a very cool birth scene. And it's a better film.
Sure.
And we've got Blade Runner, of course, which there's a ton of different versions, and the latter version that came out was, it fundamentally changed a lot of things, but it's the later one is the one that the fans embraced just because it was better. And I guess, I mean, an article's a different thing because it's more of a, it's not really telling a story or what have you. It's more of a I guess when you're doing quote-unquote journalism, there's a certain transparency that you've got to have there. You can't just go and surreptitiously change whole chunks of text, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But at least when it's something creative, I think there is merit to changing it if the creator lost confidence in what they were doing and they can't stand up and 100% justify what they've done. If there's enough of an unhappy audience there, and see if the changes that they choose to make it better. George Lucas, leave it alone, boy. You know, so...
Yeah, I think that if the artist feels like collaborating with the fans and taking some ideas from them, then that's just another form of collaboration, and that's fine. And they go on to remake something that's, in a way, just a new thing. I think it's bad when the fans dictate exactly what they want to have happen, and then the artist in question just takes that bullet point list and is like, okay, I'll just do what you said you wanted. I'll just make you happy with your list, you know, and the just deadens the creative process for them completely. That's not so hot.
Oh yeah, I mean that's it. It's got to be about. There's got to be some boundaries. You can't have the fans 100% tell a creator what to do. But if enough of them just say we're not happy with how you ended this, we thought it was a disservice to everything else you'd done, and clearly I think BioWare didn't put that effort into that ending. I think there's a clear case there for the fan outrage to do some good. And there's also, obviously, there's a chance for the fans to do some bad. I mean, we've seen backlashes against things that turned out to be good. I mean, I think the Sonic fan backlash against the famous minecart level from Sonic 4 was a terrible idea, because that minecart level, you play it on the iPhone version because they left it in, it's a good level. The level they replaced it with in Sonic 4 on the consoles is fucking shite. So,
which one is it again? Like Circus Butt again or something? What's it called?
There's some labyrinth level that
Yeah. Who
they
likes
changed.
those? That's like the opposite of what Sonic's about. Just like a slow, confusing mess of a level. Who wants that in their Sonic game? Not me, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's... So I guess it's... I mean, ultimately, I think everyone has to respect that the final decision falls with the artist, falls with the creator. But that doesn't mean that the fans don't deserve some input. I think that's the nice wishy-washy on the fence way of looking at it. I think there's got to be compromise there. I'm always a fan of compromise. You know, if there's common ground to be found, I'd like us to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people should listen to their fans. Almost every good developer I know listens to their fans, but you can listen to someone without feeling as though you're a slave to their wishes and demands. You want to keep them in mind, but you don't want to have them kind of dictate to you what you do.
Yeah. You get a general feel of their concerns, but you don't follow it to the absolute letter. I think that's the best way of doing things.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, there's a lot of suggestions I had for the Jimquisition that I would have been shit if I'd have... Not that they were even bad ideas, but me doing them, they'd have fucking sucked.
Yeah.
But to just take a general feeling of what the Escapists hated about that show, because they fucking hated it at first, but then, you know, able to adapt to that and evolve is important, I think. And I think, you know, we shouldn't say that the audience has zero input, because obviously they're watching it, so they're going to have an opinion, and if you want to keep them enjoying your stuff, you should find out what they liked and what they didn't like, and maximize those two things. So anyway, the upshot of all this is that I saw the Alien Queen.
Yeah, like the real one?
The real one.
How'd that happen?
It was at the event. We went up this freight elevator, and it was very nicely done, because as the elevator goes up on the first floor, you just see that, like, slowly revealed as the lift goes up, you just suddenly see the top of this fucker's head, and then just see it slowly revealed in all its glory. And it was the actual Alien Queen from the movie Aliens. If you're on my Facebook page, listeners, you can see it there. I'm probably going to... Oh, actually, I uploaded one of the pictures to Destructoid.com on the Podtoid question post for today. The header image is the Alien Queen. I took a photo. they're not great photos. They were just done on my phone. But yeah, it was the actual full-size alien queen from Aliens. And
Was it all wet and stuff? Do they keep it wet all the time?
no.
No,
It
wasn't
was
that
quite
wet?
dry. It would probably disintegrate. It was actually the first time the thing's been assembled in 26 years.
Whoa.
They got it shipped over from Fox in massive crates. I was being given the backstory on it. Yeah, it was exciting to see. It was just amazing to see. Everyone who listens presumably knows what a massive bonk-on I've got for alien stuff. So to see the Queen in all her glory was something else, for sure.
Yeah, I bet. I bet it was. Huh. Must have been weird, though, because, like, now you know it's not real, really, right? It's like, oh, it's just a kind of a thing. Unless it was moving around and stuff.
It winked at me. Even without eyes.
Oh, that's what it would do, yeah. To you, it would wink. Everyone else, it would eat them. But you, it's like, hey, buddy.
But yeah, I mean, that was cool. That was cool to see. So that's what I did, anyway. I feel
Sounds great.
exhausted. The hotel room had the loudest air conditioner in the world. Easily the world. Easily the world. If
world.
not the galaxy. Yeah, like every hour it'd just go. And it was so loud, like it woke me up several times. It was so loud, I started having dreams about an air conditioner so loud I could hear it across several city blocks. And that was in my dream world, just this like Silent Hill's siren before it changes to the other world.
Is the siren in Downpour? I still haven't played Downpour yet.
I
I love that stuff.
can't even remember. I fucking played that thing I can't even remember. I don't think it is. I think they do some pretty smart sort of. I think they go for more like the peeling stuff that they did in the movie and Homecoming.
Oh yeah.
Good fucking game though. I will take that to the grave. I don't care how many people didn't like it. Downpour is a good example of what survival horror needs to be doing to survive on consoles. I don't give a fuck what his face said, the Resident Evil 6 producer, when he said survival horror can't sell well. I don't give a fuck about that. It can do well if you just compromise. Like we were saying earlier about compromising things.
Yep.
In the middle ground. There is a middle ground to be had where you can evolve survival horror without, mutating it into something completely unrecognizable.
And you liked Resident Evil Revelations okay, too, right? You weren't in love with it, but you're like, yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It was a great little game, actually. It was.
Yeah, it can be done. If you listen to the audience without just following their checklist of exactly what they like, which I think a lot of people think is just Call of Duty and God of War
I'll
and
tell you
Uncharted.
What.
Yeah.
I'll tell you fucking what, right?
Yes.
Konami? I mean, I'm practically an employee, considering I've been doing all of your PR for you by letting people know your video games exist for you. You might as well hire me on as the creative director of the next Silent Hill. You might as well. I've got an idea. I know how to make it really good. And I've never been this arrogant about anything.
This sounds great.
But as far as I can see, right, I can't do a worse job with that brand than Konami has been handling it. So you might as well. I mean, like I said, I'm practically, bar the uniform, I'm working for you guys. Hire me on as creative director. I'll do it for free. I will give me a studio and some money for the game. I will work free of charge.
Wow.
So and I will give you the best Silent Hill game in years, and I ain't even fucking kidding.
But you like Downpour.
I like Downpour. There's room for improvement. Okay. I could make a Silent Hill game that a lot more people would enjoy.
Huh.
And I've never been that confident. I have never. I don't even know how to make a fucking game, and I'm this confident.
I can't help but be curious if you have any ideas off the top of your head as to what this game would be like.
Give me people who aren't me, i.e. people with talent, right? Let me just do the thinking. I'll give you a fucking Silent Hill game, and I'll do it out of pure love for the brand of the Silent Hills.
You know what I think's kind of weird? Not that I want to change the subject, but I don't want to drain this one dry unless you want to say what your idea is for a new Silent Hill.
I ain't giving it away. It's fucking brilliant.
I'm sure it's great. I'm surprised that Konami hasn't reached out to Grasshopper Manufacture yet, where Akira Yamaoka works, who did not only the music for the Silent Hill series, but some design work there too, to make some sort of Silent Hill title. Suda51, not everyone knows this. He's the president of Grasshopper and big designer at their studio. He wrote and directed Fatal Frame 4, which a lot of people think has the best scenario and kind of setup out of all the Fatal Frames, even though the gameplay is maybe not the best. He's good at horror. He's good at creepy, weird horror, which would be perfect for Silent Hill. So you got him and Yamaoka on a game, and could be pretty good. Could turn Konami around to the good side again.
Nah.
Yeah.
Trouble is, getting a good fucking developer is half the battle. It's then Konami has to do its fucking job as a publisher, which it's not been doing. So there. So,
and
no,
you wrote,
I did a Jimquisition this week about Konami, about how everything's just rotting over there, and it's a mess as far as I can see. They've just mishandled almost everything. And one thing I didn't bring up that a lot of people did bring up is Castlevania. It's its 25th anniversary this year. What has Konami done? Fuck all.
Yeah, they had a good thing going with the Castlevania series for a while. The Game Boy and DS games were well received and pretty good.
Great, fucking Dawn of Sorrow, amazing.
Yeah, I liked Order of Ecclesia a lot too. Then they made the fighting game on the Wii, which everyone hated. I reviewed it and didn't totally hate it, but it was hard to recommend it. Then they made the multiplayer game on XBLA PSN. It wasn't really what the fans wanted. It's all right, but it's not quite for them. Then they made Lord of Shadow, right? That didn't really light anyone ablaze.
Okay,
you didn't like it. It didn't sell that well. And then they weirdly put a game that was intended for the DS on WiiWare, Castlevania Adventures, the Adventure Chronicles. I can't remember the name of it, even though I reviewed it. And it was good, but come on, WiiWare? Nobody uses that service. It's not going to sell. It did all right, but it's not that's not where you put your stuff these days.
They don't tell anyone anything. They didn't tell anyone Book of Memories had been delayed. And they wouldn't give me the green light for my interview. I've got some exclusive fucking shit coming up on Book of Memories.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, the developer just wants out there, because no one knows what the game is. Yeah. And what I've heard, it makes my balls itch. I'm actually really interested in this. And WayForward's making it. WayForward, the guys that sometimes make, atrocious
they made
games,
Aliens,
sometimes make brilliant games.
Yeah, they made what is it called on the? Why am I blanking? I'm so dumb right now. On the DS, the Aliens game.
Aliens Infestation.
Yep, they made
Great game. I really like it.
Sure.
And they did. Didn't they do Mighty Switch Force as well?
They did Mighty Switch Force.
Yeah.
They have a good handle on the Nintendo.
They did Blood Rain, which I hated.
Yeah.
But Book of Memories is interesting, top-down dungeon crawler set in Silent Hill, and a lot of fans have shat all over that idea, but I'm intrigued, and I didn't know WayForward were making it. I thought, well, this could go either way, but then I heard WayForward making it, I'm like, well, I'm interested now. It's either going to be, it could still be good or bad, but at least it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Sure. And I was telling people at the Aliens event I was at, because I was still furiously ranting about Konami even over there, and people were saying to me, WayForward are making it? And I'm like, yeah, you didn't know, because no one's been told. It's amazing. And then, of course, they quietly delayed the game without telling anyone.
Yeah.
And people just accidentally discovered it. It's a mess. It's a mess over there, and I don't get it.
Yeah. It's like...
Few companies are as lucky to have... They've got Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid, and Silent Hill just sitting in their laps.
Sure.
Few companies could be so lucky as to have such really creatively and commercially great franchises over the years, and they've just pissed it away.
They haven't done much with Contra lately either. That's me being old, though, talking about that. And you posted a story today about my old friend Tyrone Rodriguez's comments about Konami.
Oh, yeah.
Well. Yeah, and that got a lot of attention. Good old Tyrone. I actually followed up with him. I hope that's okay. After I saw the story, I just
Okay.
dropped him an email to say, "What are you really trying to say, Tyrone?" Because game developers, God love them, they're not in our world, Jim. They're in different worlds. We live in a world where we have an opinion, and we feel like we need to make sure people understand why we have the opinion, so they'll both respect it and fully get it, because that's kind of our job. Whereas you're a game developer, you can just be like, this hamburger sucks, and then just throw it away. And what didn't you like about it? I don't know. What else? What do you want to talk about? They just kind of immediately change the subject, treating their other game developers like so much rotten meat that they
Yeah.
just discard. You know, Jim? You know what I'm saying?
Indie developers. What gets me about indie developers, I said this on the article, is
Uh-huh.
they got so many controversial opinions that they
Hmm.
never back up.
Well, they don't care because
Yeah.
unlike us, where we feel like, oh, we better make sure people get what we're saying. They're like, oh, just go play my game. I don't care. Oh, and I'll just talk and say whatever I want, and it doesn't really matter how I look.
Why is
And
Kojima terrible? I mean, I'm not angry at the man for not liking Kojima's games. He can like and dislike what he wants, but I mean, I'm just legit interested. It's like, dude, you
mm,
just said something pretty outrageous. It's got my attention. Please follow it up. I want to know why. What is it that makes Kojima terrible? Especially since the guy's so fucking beloved.
sure, sure, he may write back to me and tell me why, or he
I
may
hope
be
so.
like, I don't care. What do you want to? Let's talk about something else. That's happened to me plenty of times. When I wrote to Phil Fish right after he said that that one developer, the Japanese developer, that all his games suck, meaning his whole country's games suck. It's like, you want to extrapolate on that? He's like, nah, I just think the games suck.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I mean, I guess it's. I mean, their job's to make games. I guess they're not duty bound to explain their opinions to anyone. Like, unlike us, who we're paid for our opinions. But
Sure.
I'd just be interested. I mean, indie devs seem to be really outspoken about things, and they say some pretty against the grain shit. And I'd love to see if they can back it up, or if they're just being irrational. Because it does sometimes sound irrational when they've got no other reason than just it sucks.
Well, I had like I was saying before, I had Adam Saltzman on Sup Holmes last Sunday, and someone asked him what he thinks of games with cutscenes and whether they're more or less valid than games without cutscenes. And he immediately said, cutscenes do not belong in any video game. Like, without thinking about it, just like came to him. And and then I repeated it for him. I was like, did you just say cutscenes don't belong in any video game? And then he went, oh, well, no, actually they do. Just like
Yeah, I mean
immediately changed his mind. So,
it's not the only time I've heard that opinion stressed. I've never liked that. I've never liked the idea that nothing belongs in a video game. You
it's a
know?
feeling he had. The feeling hit him first, and I'm guessing this happened with Tyrone first. He's like, oh, Kojima, just like the word just gives him a bad feeling. It's just soured to him. But then if he had to think about it and actually reason it out, he'd be like, oh, actually, it's not that bad. And that's the thing when you're not paid to actually express your ideas through words and you just talk. You can just say whatever you want, and it doesn't really matter if you mean it. He probably doesn't even really hate Kojima. We'll find out, though. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Now I've built it
But I
up
think
to
the problem when they don't back stuff up or think about what they say, like they look incredibly, especially for developers that you would consider the most progressive and forward thinking. Some of their black and white statements make them sound incredibly like ignorant and backwards thinking, because you get a lot of that from certain developers. It's like, oh, nothing ever belongs here. This shouldn't always be this thing. We should kill off all of that. David Cage is very fond of that. We should kill this. We should never do this again. It's like,
right.
no. If someone wants to do it, they should be able to do it. Nothing should be considered invalid. If you're doing something creative, just fucking work with what's there. A cutscene to me is just another tool in the box.
Sure.
So there are brilliant games that never use cutscenes. I think there are brilliant games that use lots of cutscenes. It's not a crime to make use of a tool in the tool set,
Sure, for
And
sure. Well, that's rational talk. The developers we're talking about, they are so passionate about game development. Like Adam Saltzman, it was amazing to talk to him. He's so passionate about it. But passion can overload reason for a few seconds sometimes, and Adam was able to catch it and say, "Oh, I actually really love the cutscenes in Metal Gear," and then got in an interesting conversation about why it worked for him in Metal Gear 1, but he doesn't like the cutscenes in Metal Gear 4. That's a balanced and even perception that you can really get something out of, as opposed to the absolute thinking that you're saying is downside. But passion leads to absolute thinking, you know, like I want to make out with every girl right now, or oh, I just want to eat every single pizza. That's how you feel when you're really hungry, right? When the passion for pizza
I
really
know
hits.
sometimes I'll think to myself, I want to fuck Jonathan Holmes until he believes in nothing.
Exactly. That's I respect the passion of these developers that it overloads their reason sometimes. I mean, it's their whole life. They get up in the morning and think, how am I going to survive by making video games? And they go to bed at night thinking, did I do enough today to make a video game that's worth people playing and worth dedicating my whole life to? It's a kind of passion that I don't think it's hard to be totally judgmental of them. But for their sakes, I do hope, in general, game developers learn how to be a little more logical in how they express their feelings, because they do end up looking kind of dumb sometimes, even the really smart ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I just thought how ironic it was earlier when we were talking about fans trying to claim to own something and
Hmm.
do it. And then I demanded Konami hand over the entire Silent Hill franchise.
But you're more than a fan, you know.
I'm literally a game director.
If you announce that you are, I mean,
That's it.
yeah, that's much better. If the people who wanted to retake Mass Effect said, I even said this in that
If they just
kind of
turned
satire.
up at BioWare without being
Yeah,
asked and just started working there.
that I would respect. That would be a true attempt at collaboration as opposed to just dictation, which I don't like. Oh, it sounded so snooty. Am I snobby, Jim? You can be honest. Am I a snob and I just don't know it?
You say things that sometimes sound like they might be. I don't believe you are a snobby person. I don't believe it's something you intentionally do to be snobby.
Okay.
I think you have a certain way of phrasing things. And we've
Yeah.
spoken about this before. You know,
Yeah.
you have a certain way of phrasing things that can sound quite condescending, and I personally love it. I think it's hilarious. But, you know, I can imagine some people
And to
not.
be condescending is to be snobby, right? Because it implies that you're like
It certainly
better.
can be. It can, you know, look down on someone and act like you're better, which I don't think you do believe you are better than someone. But I can see how someone might take what you say and assume that you do. And I think, again, that's why you get more shit than I do. Mostly because I sound like a fucking troglodyte anyway. I sound like even at my most arrogant, I carry myself with an air of patheticness that I think allows me to get away with it.
Huh, maybe I should try to be more pathetic.
Should, I can give you some tips.
Yeah, how does one be pathetic, Jim? Can you think of any off the top of your head?
Wank all the time. Usually over something demeaning to you and the people in the videos that you're watching on XTube.
So masturbate to like people crying or something like that. Just
That
like
would
something
be
awful.
amazing, yes. Masturbate to, like, overweight men jacking off and crying. In fact, I could give you some videos of myself to practice with. So, you're alright there.
So no one would think I was a snob if I openly talked about getting into that sort of thing.
Getting
Okay.
into that
Yeah,
sort of situation, that's a good start.
that's a good tip.
That's a good
Thanks.
start, right?
Yeah.
Eat 10 apple turnovers.
You're just encouraging me to be more like sexually depraved and overweight, right? That's how I get the people to no longer see me as the upper crust snob,
Yep.
just to be fat and horny.
Yep.
I should do it. It doesn't sound bad. It sounds like a good life. Just eating tons of delicious cakes and watching pornography. Sounds like a fine time.
It's gonna be good. You were learning fast, my friend, my young apprentice. Bruh.
That would be the Star Wars parody I would want to watch. A huge overweight Darth Vader just like madly masturbating under his robe and eating
Yeah.
apple pies and cakes. Oh, once more with the jerk motion under there. Yeah, that would be great. That's a good time. There's something I was going to talk to you about. I'm blanking on it. Crap. That makes for a bad podcast, Jim. I'm sorry. How about you? What were you going to talk about?
Terrible. I don't know. I've talked about literally everything in the world now.
You really have. Yeah. Yeah. We can talk about Prometheus.
Oh, I know what I want to talk about.
Uh?
Jonathan Holmes,
Yes.
right? You
Yeah.
and I
Uh-huh.
should be,
Mm-hmm.
and hear me out, okay?
Yeah.
18th century grave robbers.
You and I?
I was thinking about this the other day. You and I, right? We
Yeah?
need to knock out a couple of our teeth, okay? Wear
Okay.
really dirty overcoats, okay? With really beaten top hats, preferably with patches sewn on them and the top cut like a tin can, like flapping up the top, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a great look.
Brilliant, isn't it? Right? Get a bit of a beard going on each of us. Start digging up graves, right? This is going to be fucking great. We'll lift them out. We'll open it up. We'll like all the dust will come out, and we'll go like that and knock all the dust away from our mouths and faces. Okay. We'll start snapping fingers off the corpses with wedding rings on them and biting it and going, "Oh, that's a lovely bit of gold, that is." And you can turn around and go, "Oh, I dare say that'll fetch up your throat and market." And we'll bundle all of our loot and jewels in sacks, which we'll have over our shoulders. And go, "Oh, I am a lovely taker in old London town." Like that.
We would do this now, or would we go back in time, or is it something we have to do like?
Well, hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I don't come up with unrealistic ideas. Wake up and smell the coffee beans, my friend. Time travel ain't likely. But borrowing some clothes from some homeless man under Brooklyn Bridge.
And then going to graves and
Going to graves.
are still buried with their jewelry. I don't think that's done these days the same way it used to be, but oh yeah, all right.
If we dig up enough, I'm fairly certain we will find one that have been buried with all their earthly possessions and money. And I'm thinking groats. I'm thinking, they'll have a sack, like a small felt purse full of groats that we can take. We can place in our burlap sack, along with candelabrum and brooches, an elegant earring, and medallions.
Right? We would have to grave rob for 20 years, bypassing our regular life, these jobs that we have, several jobs.
Oh, yeah, because we'll have to leave our homes.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking as, grave robbers, as gentlemen grave robbers. Self-styled gentlemen grave robbers, because clearly we are on the lower rung, but we present ourselves as gentlemen. We'll see like a very posh lady walking in the street, and we'll take our hats off and bow down and go, "Milady!" like that. And then she'll see the top of our heads and see all the scabs and the bleeding pussy sores that the mites have been biting into us. And she'll go, "Oh! General Grievous! Get these men away!" And then General Grievous, who is a posh man from the war, will say, "Get away from me, you dirty tramps!" And we'll go, "Oh, how dare you, sir? I am a nobleman from wealthy families."
Yeah, we'll be very indignant at the idea that perhaps General Grievous has a point. Because we didn't even do anything. We were just being nice to the lady.
We were just bowing and, we were being posh gentlemen from around town. Just trying to make an honest living. We
Yeah.
ain't been robbing no graves, and anyone who says otherwise is a liar. We are independently wealthy with the money left to me by Auntie Miriam. You'll notice my accent keeps changing.
It's all right.
You're a wizard, Harry. So that's what we'll be doing.
That's a fine
Obviously,
idea.
because we have given up our families and our homes and our jobs, we will be living out in the forest where we will live off toads that we catch from the pond. And there'll be funny moments, where we're just in our itchy long johns, splashing around in the filthy, murky pond, trying to catch frogs, and ignoring the fact that there are crushed Pepsi cans floating around in there, because it's rather anachronistic and breaks the fact that we haven't travelled back in time to the 18th century. But we won't worry about that. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be living in a stone hut, which I will... Do you know anything about building stone huts?
A little, yeah.
Brilliant. Then you'll be on stone hut building duty. I'll catch the frogs to cook up for supper.
At least we cook them. That's good.
That's what we'll be doing. And obviously, when we have a successful raid on a grave, we will be able to buy a chicken from the market.
Yeah, that'll be like Christmas.
Yeah, and we won't be able to cook that. The forest will be too wet to get a fire started. So we'll just eat it with the feathers and all. We'll just we'll just grab a leg and just pull it in half.
Why did we choose to do this? Why did we say to ourselves, all right, we've got homes, we've got significant others, we've got jobs, and we're friends. You and I are friends, so we can maintain our friendship as it is with no risk, or we could throw it all away and decide to basically get married in the woods, and eat frogs and rob graves and eat the chicken. Why would we choose that? Why would that be the decision that we made?
Right. I don't think you're listening to me, right? Let me see if this sways you, okay?
Yeah. Yeah?
We will be sleeping in the stone hut, right?
That I have to build.
On straw, right? With a small cloth over us, okay? Basically a dish rag that just covers our nipples. We'll be huddled under that, okay? In our itchy long johns, wearing grey socks with the ends totally rotted away so our dirty toes wiggle out the top of them.
Okay.
Does that answer your question as to why we're doing this?
Yeah, as well as it ever could. Absolutely. It is a nice idea.
So it's decided. Because I tell you what, we could get a big stick and use it to crack open a mausoleum door. I bet they got riches untold in there.
I don't know enough about how people die these days. Do they really bury people with good jewels and money? A little bag of money there?
I'll be honest.
Uh-huh.
I've never been to a funeral and I don't know what they do.
I've seen them.
I am still running off 18th century logic here.
Right. But there's only one way to find out, I suppose.
I'm gonna have to get that 360 turned down. Someone's playing incredibly loudly. 1 second.
That's fun.
Keep them talking. Keep them.
Oh, I'll keep it. Yeah, that's right. It is still the show. I don't know. I feel like the more time you spend thinking about who your enemies are, the more you just want to crush them underfoot. But the more you want to crush people underfoot, the more they become your enemy to defend themselves. So maybe we shouldn't crush nobody no more. Maybe it's time that we all got together and made friends. Yeah. Let's do it. But where will we do it? How about the Olive Garden? No. Pasta's too salty. Pasta's too salty.
We talking about the Olive Garden?
Oh, I did bring it up. Yeah.
Ah.
I tried to keep it going. I started to doze off, though, on my own. I haven't been sleeping much. I've got a case of writer's block. That's why the Mario Party 9 review isn't done yet. But by this weekend, Both those reviews will be done. I've got so much stuff on my plate, Jim. I got to write an app.
That's not good enough, Holmes.
I know people have been
That's
dying.
not good enough, Holmes. Get me that Peter Parker. Get me that photos of that wall trawler.
A pita pocket? A war trolley?
Behind bars. Reviewing Mario Party 9.
Have you gotten any emails from anyone?
Dafoe playing Jonah Jameson. Get me that wall trawler.
No one's asked you, where is the Mario Party 9 review?
Huh?
Have they? Has anyone come to you and said, Jim, where is Destructoid's Mario Party 9 review?
Maurice did.
Why would he care? Does he really care?
He takes my job more seriously than that.
It's pretty funny. Yeah. It'll get done. I'm getting it done.
Better do, Parker.
I can do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of video games, I played some.
What?
I played Journey and I played Kid Icarus Uprising, 2 video games that you reviewed, Jim.
Yeah.
And your opinion did not precisely mirror my own.
Oh, God.
To rewrite.
Oh, no.
Man, to rewrite, Jim.
All right. Well, come on, then. Let's get
you want to talk
it.
about it? It's discussion. That's why people tune into Podtoid.
Well, no, they don't. They want to hear about the 18th century grave robbing.
They probably do. They made a movie kind of like that called Sell the Dead.
Sell the Dead. I watched like 5 or 10 minutes of it and I didn't laugh once, so I turned it off.
It's more of a thought-provoking failure than it is an honest-to-God comedy, but it's got its charms. It meant well. You know, sometimes you don't do your best work. I've done some stuff that's much worse than the other stuff that I did. That's what I Sell the Dead is. It's just not their best work, but it's all right. Anyway. So yeah, Kid Icarus Uprising. The more I play it, the more I like it. I'm definitely getting more into it.
That's the opposite that I felt. The more I played it, the more I hated it.
Yeah, why is that exactly? Is it because it just got increasingly irritating that just the way it feels to play?
It wasn't that it was
sucks?
increasingly irritated. I was just increasingly irritated because it was the same. It never changed for me, really. I didn't really enjoy it very much at all. It was.
Well, I'm not.
I don't like those controls. I don't like that. I don't like either of the control schemes they offer. And fuck that fucking Sakurai for saying, "Oh, I wouldn't have used the second circle pad for aiming because you need the touchscreen." The alternate control scheme that's in there that uses the face buttons for movement uses the left analog nub to aim. So he's chatting shit. They could have done it. They could have fucking done it.
They probably still will. There's talk that it could be patched, so you could use dual analog. Do you think you would prefer it with dual analog to the point where you might actually change the review?
I wouldn't change the review. I don't change reviews because of patches.
Yeah.
But I would definitely write some updated impressions and stuff, and if it did improve it, which I think it would, I think that game, if you'd have put that game on the PS Vita, I'd have probably loved it.
Yeah, I could see that. I find that the camera is more unwieldy in a way that's not unmanageable, but they're asking me to acquire a new physical skill that I'm not sure if that was such a hot idea, because it's getting in the way of me enjoying the game a lot of the time, which was your point. So I can totally see where you're coming from on it, but I am getting better at managing the camera to the point where it's not slowing me down as much. I'm in chapter 7, I think. And I really just love the level design and the writing. I really loved that throwback to the original Star Fox level. That made me feel great.
There's some really nice humor and self-references in there. Yeah. I do like the baddie as well.
Which one?
He's basically the baddie from Fern Gully.
Who are you talking about?
Looks exactly like him and sounds exactly. Oh, pity pat. Oh.
I'm just thinking of Medusa. Is there someone other than Medusa that I haven't seen yet? Pandora? Huh? No, that's a robot.
Baddie? there's a baddie you meet later on as well.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm not.
I don't want to spoil anything. I'm sorry. It's
that's all right. It's all right. I look forward to it.
You meet this. There's a certain boss character who you meet fairly early on who is he is the baddie from Fun. He sounds like Tim Curry. Just
I'll look for that. Maybe I've seen it and I missed it. I had to play some of it with the sound off because it was in a public space. I haven't had the chance to play video games on a home console, which is part of why I'm playing Kid Icarus instead of Journey. I started Journey. I played it for maybe 15 minutes, and I got really bummed out when a co-op player started doing the stuff I wanted to do. I wanted to wander around in the desert and touch paper. And they touched my paper before I got a chance to and made a bunch of bridges. And I'm like, I don't even need to be here. I could just stand still and they would just play the game for me, which is exactly why I didn't like Resident Evil 5 that much co-op, because I could literally just stand there and let someone else do all the work. It felt like they were stealing the game from me. Like, to me, a game is a presentation of the developers' ideas that they wanted me to experience. They're like, here, this is for you. And then when a co-op player grabs that experience and does it in my place, I feel like I just got ripped off. So it kind of turned me off to Journey. It was hard to really be interested in pushing on.
Excuse me. That's really interesting.
You're kidding. I said something good?
No,
Oh.
that's a really interesting way of looking at things. And I'd say this is someone who obviously loved Journey.
Yeah.
But I can totally see that side of it. I mean, I had someone play co-op and it was someone who had played, they must have been on their second playthrough, so they did a lot of paper touching. They also kind of just helped me, they helped point me in the right direction. I found that a very positive experience. I thought it was awesome that I was getting a helping hand from someone. I found it this weirdly social experience, despite the fact you never know who you're playing with until after the game. And that was very positive for me, but the fact for the exact same reason you had a negative response I find that fascinating. And I find that just interesting about that game in general, that you can get those two very different ideas from it. So yeah, I actually I think you should write actually in more detail about co-op and what it can do.
Yeah, maybe I should. Thanks, Jim. That's very encouraging. It's such an unpopular opinion. I after playing Journey a little bit, shared it with my Twitter feed that I'm like, not really wanting to play anymore. Kind of burnt out on it already. And people were polite. No one called me a hipster or anything, but there was definitely a backlash. Like, the passion that people have for that game already is pretty severe. And it left me feeling a little confused. Do you think, Jim, if there was many games like Journey as there are games like Medal of Honor and Mercenaries and Call of Duty and whatnot, if it was that commonplace, do you think Journey would have stood out as much?
I think if you know where you're looking, there are plenty of games like Journey. I've played, Passage, I've played Every Day the Same Dream, I've played Dear Esther, I've played The Stanley Parable. I've played a lot of games where mostly the objective is walking, and a lot of them, I did a Jimquisition a few weeks back in which I pointed out that a lot of these art games have become as generic and indistinct as Battlefield, Call of Duty, A lot of these games, these art games, try to look experimental and unique by just doing what other experimental, unique art games have done. And to me, because of that, Journey stood out, because to me Journey is an example of doing it right. They did that whole, it's a game about walking, it's a game about the journey, but they made it just interactive enough and just inspiring enough to really be a step above. In the same way, I find Stanley Parable is a fantastic experience with very little interactivity from the player.
What the heck is that? What's this parable?
Stanley Parable is a Half-Life mod, Half-Life 2 mod, in which it really is a game that should be played. If you've got a Half-Life 2 on your computer, just do a search for the mod and you can freely download it. But it plays around with players, like player agency and how much control a player has over the game, and whether you're just following orders or making your own game. And it's really interesting because the game's narrated by this guy who tells you what to do, and you can disobey him, and there's different endings depending on whether you play the game quote-unquote as intended or whether you quote-unquote break it. And it's really interesting, and it's things like that that make a game stand out. So there's plenty of competition for Journey. It's certainly got more attention because a lot of gamers don't know the competition is there.
Sure.
So Journey looks like a total breath of fresh air. But for someone like me who's gotten, I'm not going to claim I'm some great art game expert. There's plenty I haven't played, but I think I've played enough to know what I like and what I don't. And Journey still stands out for me as a fantastic example of, for want of a better term, an art game done right.
Right. A game that puts subtlety of expression over kind of explosive in your face techniques of getting the point across.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think art game maybe means. I don't know. They all are art, but there's different emphases in an art game. Does it change up? I'm 15 minutes in. Am I gonna like hit some sort of big twist pretty soon, or is there gonna be some big new gameplay dynamic that's like wowing me? Or is it kind of just kind of variations on a theme?
It's more just what you see as you go on your journey and how that makes you feel.
Yeah.
It gets, there are some little twisty things, but it is predominantly a game about what the title is. You are going on a little journey.
Okay. Is there a town?
No.
Like with a guitar player?
You're not gonna... No, it's not Animal Crossing.
No, there's no Hungarian dance or anything?
No. Maybe you won't like it.
I do love Animal Crossing, which is another game about nothing.
That is another game about nothing. There are similarities between Animal Crossing and those kinds of artsy games, really, when you consider what the point of it is. And that it's...
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof, yeah. I'll tell you what is art, though.
Wow.
My idea for a Willem Dafoe movie.
I look forward to hearing it. You have a new one this week?
I have a Willem Dafoe movie pitch for y'all. And I've just got to thank everyone who has been sending in fan art. At some point I need to compile it all somewhere, but there have been some excellent pictures done.
District Dafoe?
District Dafoe, Double Brothers. I can only remember like one or two names, so I'm going to say none right now so I don't leave people out. But I will put out proper thanks at some point, because I've really got to thank people for some of the just amazing effort that's gone into making movie posters and things for these films. At some point I'll find a way to communicate those to the wider Podtoid audience, but fantastic stuff, and I really hope they have fun with this week's one, which is interesting. Okay?
Yeah.
So here's the premise. Mother and a father, right? Let's say Brendan Fraser and Deborah Messing have a baby. They've got the perfect life, right? Brendan Fraser is a stockbroker. Deborah Messing is a stockbroker.
So they're well off.
They're well off. They've got a lovely, picturesque house. Trendy, but not cold. It's that kind of welcoming, modern look that everyone enjoys. Hey, they've had a baby. Their life is complete. They think everything's perfect. The first few weeks, the baby is, doing its little baby thing. Deborah Messing's looking after it. Brendan Fraser, they're alternating time off work because it's a progressive modern relationship. There's no gender roles here. Sure. It's just a modern family with a modern life. And the perfect little family started together. And a dog. Of course, they've got a lovely little...
Pomeranian?
One of those... Whatever that one is, a pomegranate dog. So that's all good.
Sounds great.
Fine. That's all
Sounds
great.
Like almost no story to tell, because it's so perfect.
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah.
Until one night, when Brendan Fraser is woken up by this voice that just goes, "Hey! Hey, you!" Sleepily, he opens up his eyes and just blearily looks around the room and looks across the bed where he sees the baby's cot. And the baby is stood up in the cot, holding the bars, right? And just like in Benjamin Button, Willem Dafoe's face is in the baby's head. Just over its face. The baby's face is gone, and it's Willem Dafoe's face.
Oh, no.
On a normal little regular-sized baby. Newborn, it shouldn't be standing up, but it stood up, holding the bars, grinning at Brendan Fraser, and it just goes, "Hey, Daddy, I need you to steal for me. And suddenly Brendan Fraser wakes up and in cold sweat, terrified. Deborah Messing's like, what's wrong, honey poo? And he says, oh, nothing, sugar tits. Everything's fine, I just had a bad dream. And he looks over at the baby, sleeping, perfectly fine, you know.
Okay, sure.
God, what happened? Right? Next night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, fucker egg! He wakes up. And the baby is looking at him and goes, yeah, daddy boy, this ain't no dream. I'm an evil baby, and I need you to steal drugs for me from the drugstore. Cold medicine, I'm going like ecstasy. And it turns out, over the course of the film, that this baby is no dream. It is an evil baby that only Brendan Fraser can see with the evil face. Everyone else is a normal baby. And as the film goes on, obviously the baby starts just constantly wearing the Willem Dafoe evil demon face. But no one else can see it. And it's just constantly looking at Brendan Fraser, wagging its tongue out, going, like that. And Brendan Fraser is stealing drugs for it. And it's
just like cold medicine and stuff?
Breaking into the pharmacy.
He could just buy the medicine. He's a stockbroker. He's got plenty of money.
I know, he can buy everything he wants. He's not even asking for a lot, right? But the baby has threatened to stab Deborah Messing when he goes, I'm going to stab your little wifey in the cunt if you don't steal cough medicine for me. So he is stealing cough medicine under cover of night for the baby.
Yeah. It's a real moral dilemma, they call that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually it just gets worse and worse, and he's getting him to do worse and worse crimes until it's eventually like, kill for me! Kill for me! Kill for your baby! Like that. And eventually it ends up with him slitting the dog's throat and burying the dog in the yard while the baby's pacing backwards and forth with a cigarette, just saying, bury the body! You're gonna hide the evidence! Pop!
Why does the baby... So the baby's hopped up on cough medicine. He's smoking in the house, and he's demanding that the dog be buried in the backyard?
Yeah.
It's a lot like Midnight in Paris, actually. Written directed by Woody Allen. Where at night your true fantasies come to life, whether you like them or not.
Well, there you go.
And that almost won an Academy Award. So
this is a film in which the baby's fantasies come to life by making his dad do them.
Right.
Anyway, eventually he meets the Chinese man from Gremlins, who tells him that an ancient spirit curse has been placed on Brendan Fraser and he needs to lift the curse. But it goes wrong, because he has to perform an exorcism on top of a cliff, right? And the baby attacks him.
Is there a fight? There's
a dramatic fight scene in which you remember in Attack of the Clones when Yoda's fighting Christopher Lee? It's a bit like that. The baby's hopping around, jumping about, spinning its head around, going like that. So it's biting him. It's got sharp teeth now, and it's biting his hands and his face and his Brendan Fraser hair. And eventually he kicks the baby over the cliff. Fuck. And the baby grabs the cliff, and it looks up and goes, help me, Daddy! Help me, I'm gonna fall into the rocks below! Right? Yeah. And he grabs the baby's hands, and he says, it's okay, you're gonna be alright, I love you, my baby. Like that. And then the baby just goes, ha ha! Pulls a knife out of its diaper and tries to stab Brendan Fraser in the hand. And he just lets go and flinks him. And he falls backwards into the cliff in slow motion, going,
not no, but sort of.
I'll see your wife's cunt in hell. That's what he says as he goes down.
That's his mom. Deborah Messing. He's so impersonal towards his own mother. He refers to his own mother as his father's wife. Your wife looks pretty dumb today, that sort of thing.
And Deborah Messing's there and she's crying, but she knew now by this point because the baby had tied her up and was going to sacrifice her to the Dark Ones, right?
Satanic. Did
Yeah.
you mention that it was satanic before?
No, it is though. Don't
Oh,
worry about it. It is, and so she's like crying with relief. You know, she doesn't care about the baby anymore because it's evil, and that makes it okay that it's dead. And Brendan Fraser falls back, right, and he says, "It's okay, it's okay, it's gonna be all right now." Except he starts hearing like that, right? And he looks down, right? And he just starts really panicking because he can hear the screaming, like there's this Willem Dafoe growling inside of him, right? And he's
inside of him?
yeah, and he starts screaming. He's like, I can hear it, I can hear it. And he pulls down his pants, right? His pants and his underwear, and his penis is erect,
Fully erect?
fully erect.
Okay.
And he
Okay.
points up at him, and then just this huge amount of spunk spurts out of his penis, and the dick is pointed at the camera. So you see the spunk shooting at the camera, and just as it's about to hit the camera, you see Willem Dafoe's face in the sperm going like that, and that's how the film ends, with just this big Willem Dafoe spunk going in Brendan Fraser's face, going, and the implication is that no matter how many babies he has, they're all little evil Willem Dafoe babies.
And that the sperm is so passionate, I guess you could say, that it could cause him to have a huge erection even at a very unerotic time. He's just killed his baby, so there's almost
But it
no.
needs to be erect so that the spunk can come out.
Well, sure, sure. Otherwise, it would just drip.
I mean, I'm not really thinking about the physiology of this, and I think the audience will be too intense to care that I didn't give a fuck. So yes, you see this spunk come out at the end, just with Willem Dafoe's face in it, and you're like, oh fuck, the curse is in his balls. Okay,
Yeah.
and I call this film "Look Who's Talking 4."
To capitalize on the audience that has been waiting for Look Who's Talking For, and this is the movie they wanted all along. They went to babies, then to two babies, then to dog and babies talking, and now they want talking Willem Dafoe sperm shooting in 3D, I presume,
Yeah, I know.
at the audience.
I think if there's one thing the audience wants, it's screaming Willem Dafoe sperm.
That could be the movie that turns the tide. That could be the film that finally breaks those. Oh, well, if there's an real ejaculating penis on screen, that would be considered.
Brendan Fraser's real ejaculating penis.
Yeah,
That man still sells movies, doesn't he? He could still ship tickets.
Sure, he was. I think in like Journey to the Center of the Earth 3D. That was a hit.
There you go.
This will be similar to that.
He was in Tarzan, probably.
Oh no, George of the Jungle.
Same
very,
thing.
very close. Yeah, same
Same
thing.
difference.
And very much like your Willem Dafoe pitch.
So what do you think? What do you reckon? Look who's talking for. I'm not even being clever with it. Like, you know, look who's talking again or anything.
No,
It's just look who's talking for. You know, the Roman numerals. It was that or Baby's Day Out to Hell. Actually, I'll call it that. It's Look Who's Talking for, : Baby's Day Out to Hell.
To hell. Yeah. Exclamation point. Maybe at the end there. Get them excited, you know. Know that you really mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tagline will be, Hell's gonna need a pacifier.
But he doesn't do anything that bad. I
He
mean,
makes Brendan Fraser kill a dog.
that's not that bad.
And he's about to sacrifice Deborah Messing to the Dark Ones.
But the only part that's truly horrific is that your own sperm can cause you to have an erection, because it's almost true to life. Anyone who's ever had an erection knows that they can happen when you don't want them to. Anyway, yeah, you've killed your baby. Your wife is crying. You're holding her tight. You're like, this is terrible. This is the opposite of sex. This is the death of a child as opposed to the creation of one. Uh-oh, huge screaming erection. I better drop my pants and underwear.
How else will the audience see it?
Yeah. And then it turns out I thought you were going to have the head of the penis be Willem Dafoe's face. which would have been scary too. But to have the sperm be that's the next level. Yeah, you took
I
it.
think there's a question here.
Yeah.
Right? You've thrown your baby off the cliff.
Mm.
It tried to stab you and you knocked it down and it went, ah, see your wife's cunt in hell.
Yeah.
Right?
You could have just picked it up and you're gonna win the fight, even if it has a knife. It's not that.
There's 5 minutes of him struggling to lift it up when it's fallen off the cliff and he's holding it. He's really struggling and we just don't explain why when it is a baby. But yeah, you've thrown your only infant son off a cliff. Your wife's crying. This is not an erotic time. You get a big erection. I think what's on everybody's mind is that pedophilia or not? How's that for a callback, ladies and gentlemen?
You did it. You brought it in.
Hey!
You introduced it to the discussion.
Cool Christmas, Voldemort.
I'm glad I emailed you about cool
I'm selling
Christmas.
out and just doing all of our old stuff.
It's all right. It's all right. It's what the people want. You're listening to the audience.
Hey, Max Scoville,
Yes.
are you Snow who did that Informer song or not? You see? It's all the hits.
No, that was a big hit. People like the Max Noville.
Yeah.
Noville.
Do the entire Muddy Buddies pitch again.
That would be so painful.
Just really
forgot
try
I
out
did it.
everything.
Yeah, that
Muddy Buddies was great.
Oh, thanks. I should try to think of a pitch again.
Oh,
I've been
please.
so creatively bereft with all of my. I've got a new day job, which is really taxing me hard, and other things. I'm starting a website, I guess. The accordionist from the Mass Effect. Was it Mass Effect? No, Uncharted episode of talking to women about video games now wants to be a web designer. And she's like, let me make your website. And it's going to have like an advice column and stuff like that. So that's a thing I'm doing too. It's all really pooping me out though. I'll tell you, Jim, I'm pooped. Yeah, but I'm still loving the Podtoid. I'm just hoping I'm spunky enough for the show. I'm spunky enough, right?
Yeah, my spunky boy.
That was genuinely affectionate. That was nice. Thanks.
You have to excuse me if you can hear me coughing. It's when I do Willem Dafoe voices, I think it dislodges things.
Oh yeah.
It's a very scratchy thing.
Yeah.
It pulls things out from your guts.
Yeah, it is.
I'm tired now.
Yeah, I bet you are.
I had that pitch cooking for 2 weeks because I didn't want to really alienate Danny last week. So I
He would have gone
kept
for it. That almost would have been a waste of our special time with Danny B.
Yeah.
To do that.
Really popular. People really liked having Danny on.
You stole the show.
Except one guy who said
Yeah.
he'll never buy a game with him in it because he was unprofessional and didn't want to talk about games. And I'm like, he was on Podtoid.
That almost seemed like a self-parody. And the fact that
he said he really liked us. It's like, I don't know how you can like us and then despise a man for joining in perfectly.
Right. Just doing the exact same
Yeah.
every week. It's a
Reach for the stars. Da-da-da-da.
Oh, is that SW7 again? What are they called again?
S Club 7.
S Club 7. Yeah, my mistake.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyrone Rodriguez wrote me back about the Konami thing. He is going to put something together and fully explain his point. But he needs more space. He needs more than the soundbite, he said. So I told him I would, I'll give him all the space he wants. Tyrone actually worked for Tips and Tricks and I think GamePro for a while. So he knows what it's like to actually have to fully articulate your opinion and have it not just be kind of your emotion speaking. So he'll put something together for us. I bet that'll be good. Yeah. Anyway, should we start doing the questions, Jim? Is it questions time?
Hey, there ain't no party like an S Club party. Let's get on with it.
All right.
Questions from being asked.
Yeah.
Yes. Tuddy What? That's a fucking great name.
Yeah, Teddy What?
Tuddy What?
That is
Tuddy
a good one.
What? Oh, I fucking love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Sorry, I'm just really impressed. He says he's been playing Blood on PC this week after getting in on Good Old Games. It was actually it might still be on sale for $3. If you do not own Blood on PC, get it. I love it. Play it with cheats on, actually. It's a lot more fun with all the weapons. But anyway, he says he's been enjoying the atmosphere and the feeling of that, and if there were any other Good Old Game recommendations that are readily available to play. I do a column every Friday on Gamefront called the GOG Box, where I talk about one of my favourite games that are available on Good Old Games. So check that out every Friday on Gamefront.com. Otherwise, you can't go wrong with Realms of the Haunting, which is this weird merger of first-person shooter and adventure games with FMV cutscenes that are slightly overacted but not pathetic like most of them were back in the day. That's a lot of fun. What else have I been playing recently off there? It was actually mostly just Realms of the Haunting and Blood. Get Beneath the Steel Sky. That's an old point-and-click adventure game. That's completely free on there. That's pretty good. There are some others, but I can't remember any of them. But definitely get on with them to begin with. And then see Dungeon Keeper as well. Get fucking Dungeon Keeper. One or two. Apparently they're both good, but my first love's always with the original. But there's plenty to be getting on with, so definitely do that. Get Beneath the Steel Sky, that's free. Get Realms of the Haunting, that's something else. And Dungeon Keeper you can never go wrong with.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. The Nakedist says it's fairly obvious what we think of Konami, or at least what I think of Konami. Are there any other companies that, quote-unquote, just don't get it?
Well, we've talked so much about Capcom. I'm worried about them because, like I've said before, and this is true of Konami as well, I like the developers at Capcom a lot. I don't like everything they do, but I like a lot of what they do. Almost all of their games have at least some redeeming qualities. Like Asura's Wrath, I finally got around to playing that. I agree with your opinion on it, Jim, but there's some really good parts in that I wish they had the time and money to flesh out. But I get the sense that that's not how the business side of it went for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm freaked out by what Capcom's doing. I'm really worried about how they're handling DLC and just being so public with their mistakes. Just making them look awful. There's so much they could have done to, if they're going to be terrible, that's what they're going to do. But to let everyone know that you're terrible by putting all of your content on disc again and just not seem to get how much damage it's doing to your company worries me. And I feel bad for the Capcom guys who have to talk about it, who didn't make the decision, like my old friend Seth Killian and Christian, the president of Capcom USA. They're like very I don't want to say embarrassed, but I get the sense that they don't even know what to say anymore because it's not them making these decisions, but they're stuck with explaining them. It's painful and sad.
Oh yeah, I feel so much sympathy for any community manager, really. Community managers and spokesmen in general, especially when it's companies outside of their country. They get it the worst. They get fucking blamed for stuff, and they get the abuse, usually for other people's decisions. So yeah, I've been meaning to do a feature or a video on that of just showing some sympathy for the community guys that really don't make the decisions but have to justify all of them. I feel really sorry for them.
Yeah,
Can't be
absolutely. No. I mean, when you're working for a company who's making decisions you're proud of, it's great. And Capcom was on a real roll when they were making the Street Fighter 4 Snuggie. I thought that was hilarious. And just making Street Fighter 4 in general was a huge victory for them. And Mega Man 9 and all sorts of stuff they were doing just a few years ago. They were really on top. And I don't know if it was Inafune leaving or what, but it's really been choking lately. That's worrisome.
Yeah, I've been...
Cool.
When I did my Konami video, I had a lot of people saying, do Capcom next. Oh, no, do Square Enix next. There's a lot of... I've actually done Square Enix before. I did some rules that they need to obey. Mostly, not announcing 10 games at once. And
sure.
all that fucking shit. Ubisoft is a company I've slagged off many times, and I think... At least as far as PC gaming goes, those guys just don't get it. They need to stop being considered a PC publisher. It would save us all a huge amount of heartache if we just said, even if they're putting games on PC, they're not a PC company. Don't buy stuff from them, just between their shitty DRM and their bad port jobs and just a whole bunch of shit that comes with buying an Ubisoft PC game. Like recently Assassin's Creed 3 is coming out on PC and they told everyone you're going to need a controller for this. And then it's just silly things like that. It's like, don't bother. If you're not going to put the work in, don't bother, Ubisoft. But of course, people are still buying it, and to those people, I'm like, guys, don't. Also, PC gamers, don't bother. Let them fucking fall on their fucking asses. So that's a company I think they just don't understand the PC market, but somehow they're keeping going with it. So
Yeah, I wonder if they're making money off of it despite that. It's hard to imagine that they're making comparable money as they are on consoles. But they won't tell us. Oh, I wish the whole industry wasn't so secretive about how much money they made. Just don't really see why they're so scared to let us know. Yeah, just let us know. It'll help us to know what's going on. Feels good. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Femuad says, "Dear Holmes, would
Oh,
you
wow.
agree to record an audiobook of you reading bedtime stories if Jim wrote them?"
Sure, I'll read some bedtime stories.
And I
Absolutely.
will write them. It's going to have to be a while, and I'll probably need reminding. I think Femuad speaks to me on Twitter every now and then. You're going to have to remind me in a couple of weeks, because I've got a shitload of stuff to do. But I will write stories, and I'll give them to Jonathan.
Yeah, maybe at E3
Yeah,
when we have
and
some
make a nice
downtime.
Podtoid special.
I get it might. I'm not. I will do my best to make it a good special. I've
Audiobook.
never never done an audiobook before, but I try.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
thanks
could
for asking.
we could sell them.
Oh yeah, for
We could
profit.
put them on iTunes and make like literally 30 cents.
Well, I've said this
And then we
before.
can make DLC
Oh
and
yeah.
a sequel. And this is how they get started. I can see how they get started. We should do this. We could be the next EA of erotic children's literature.
When did it become erotic? What?
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 I never said that. I think you're projecting.
Oh, that's such a good attack. I have to remember that one. Yeah,
Who
okay.
Dat Ninja wants to know if talking to women about the video games is ever coming back ever.
That's really nice of him to ask. I've been surprised by how much people seem to want it to return. It's tough. The guy who shot it with that nice camera so it looked good and was willing to edit it every week. It was a tough schedule. We were, shooting that every weekend and then editing it the next day. So it was basically 7-day weeks while we were doing that. He's going to Sarajevo to make a documentary about journalists who fought in the war in Bosnia. And then when he comes back, he might do talking to women about video games again. It's really, he's got a weird life. 1 second he's making a potentially Oscar award-winning documentary, and the next minute he's meeting me in the garage to yell at some woman about how Uncharted 4 won't have next-gen graphics unless it's on the Orbits or whatever the PS4 is going to be called. So yeah, hopefully it'll come back. We might do a special at PAX as well if we have time and the inspiration to do so. It was a fun series to do. It was just a lot going on, and with Sup Holmes on top of it, it's hard to do them both. So yeah, that's the answer to that question, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarajevo. Yeah, that's why.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
Uh,
Oh.
Sadidwith says that my comedic stylings have made him get all of Eddie Izzard's stand-up. And he wants to know if you or I have ever worn a dress, and will we be wearing dresses during E3 for our destined meeting?
Wait, what?
Have you ever worn a dress, Jonathan?
Have I ever worn a dress?
Yeah, a lovely, handsome dress.
I've dressed in drag. I dressed in drag for the Halloween special of the Detoid show back when I hosted it. I dressed like Poison from Final Fight.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was all right. It was a last minute idea. But I don't know if I've ever actually worn a dress. It seemed unflattering. If I were to dress in drag, I would go about it in a different way to show off my assets, I suppose. How about you, Jim? You worn a dress?
I love transvesticism as a thing. I think I've spoken about it on Podtoid before. I find it wonderful stuff. It's not something I feel comfortable doing myself, not out of not wanting to do it. It's just, as I've said many times before, nobody wants to see John Candy in a dress. Hence,
Actually,
I don't do it.
Not to cut you off, but if you've seen Nothing But Trouble, John Candy plays two roles. He plays the sheriff, the kindly sheriff, who's trying to stop Dan Aykroyd, the crazy old judge, from murdering Demi Moore and Chevy Chase. Anyway, Chevy Chase is going to marry John Candy and drag in that movie? Not
Oh,
bad. Not bad. She looks pretty cute.
oh, maybe I will wear a dress then.
I
But no,
win.
I do like that whole thing, but it's not something I would feel comfortable pulling off. But if that, if the whole weight loss thing we was talking about earlier works out, I may yet go to E3 in a cocktail dress wearing military boots. That's the dream.
That would be an amazing dream come true, and you're at a point in your career where that would only be good press for you.
It's true. I think that would probably do more positive press for my career than anything else I've ever done. I can't get much more negative press.
Yeah, I really hope that happens. I wish I could help you do that somehow, but all I can do is watch and wait. Hope that it comes to be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What else we got? Havoc Fang wants to remind us that we're both wonderful people.
Oh, that's very nice of him.
Uh,
Somebody wrote me on Twitter, someone who I think is a fan of yours, Jim, and a fan of the Electric Hydra, which is a great podcast. It just said, "I do not like you," and it was very hard to argue with it because he wasn't being mean about it, but he just doesn't like me. But I did have
I
to.
really don't get that. I've never gotten that. Why people could not like you.
Ah, that's awfully nice. Well, it's not terribly insulting because he wasn't being disrespectful or mean or anything, trying to be hurtful. He's just letting me know. It's just some feedback. I do not like you. And I was like, well, we haven't actually met, I don't think. So you might actually like me in real life, but maybe you just don't like any of the stuff I do. That's okay.
Well, you get that. I think I've noticed with myself and other people online, it's people will decide you're a bad person. I guess that makes them feel better, or like it's all right for them to, get in your face or give you grief or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, it's always confusing. They say I don't like you on a personal level.
I might remind them of someone they don't like, or maybe they only saw my worst stuff, because my worst stuff is terrible.
Yeah.
My worst reviews and my worst videos, they're hard to watch. I don't like them. Or maybe, yeah, maybe. But I bet in real life we could get along just fine. It's very different when you meet me in real life, I think. And you too, Jim.
I just don't know what one is expected to do with the information. That's always my first question. When someone tells me, I don't like you, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. It's not like it's not a criticism, because there's nothing you can do to improve because you're just you.
Right.
So there's nothing tangible there. It frustrates me, not because I feel offended, but because I literally don't know how to process the information that I've been presented.
Yeah.
Someone who I don't know doesn't like me, and there's literally no substance there. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm guessing that what they're hoping we take from it is, hey, you thought you were liked, didn't you? Guess what? You're actually not liked. Now you know what's really going on. You are not liked.
Yeah.
So don't get
now
liked.
You know what it's like to live in my world.
That might be it too. Yeah.
Who knows?
It's
Mr.
good
Mojo Rising has a joke for us.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Yeah. What did the boy with no arms and legs get for Christmas?
I don't know. What did the boy with no arms and no legs get for Christmas?
Cancer.
It's awful.
So, yeah, there'll be another joke from Mr. Mojo Rising next week, hopefully. That can be a new regular feature for us.
Sure.
In amidst, Jim's let's do a funny thing for Holmes and he to do, and let's make up bullshit about Willem Dafoe, we can have another really offensive joke about a terminal illness from one of our readers.
Well, it's I thought it was funny because it's what life feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's feel bad.
I mean, I should bear in mind I'm just doing my best to dress it down so that I'm not accused of laughing at boys with cancer, when secretly I love the idea of any child dying in the most horrific way possible, which is, again, why I'm neither pro-life nor pro-choice. I'm just pro-abortion and babies dying, which unfortunately you can't fit on a sign as well as one of those one-word campaigners.
Right, yeah. There isn't a one word for liking it when children have died or are dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get to work on that. I'll try to think of one for you though.
A couple of people calling for Danny B to have a permanent role on Podtoid, which I wouldn't ask for him to take that time out of his day, but definitely want him on again at some point. So that's
Yeah, I
good,
bet
isn't it?
he's incredibly busy. But he had enough fun with it and got enough positive feedback that I think he'll be back relatively soon if we can get him. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah. Mm.
This is great radio.
Are you gonna do another question, you think, Jim?
I'm going to look for questions while covering up my lack of planning with a song. A little tasty song for you to listen to. By this point, I'm too busy singing to even bother reading the questions.
Do you want me to sing or read questions? I feel bad. It's all on you.
I am really quite desperate, so I will take any help I get.
Okay, I will sing then. No. Yes? It's hard to decide when you're going to sing. I was talking to some young people around your age, Jim, and they've never heard the song Try a Little Tenderness before. I was really, really taken aback. I thought everyone knew that
Is
song.
that the one that goes, reach for the stars, da, 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 climb every mountain high and reach for the stars, da, 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 da.
What a dead song that is. Is that really how they sing it? Reach for the stars. Like, if you want. It's just a really unenthusiastic suggestion of something you could do that would be a lot of work, which is the stars are so far away, to reach for them. Ugh, not easy. But reach for the stars.
I
Yeah.
will admit, I'm yawning now, that's professional. I will admit I'm probably not doing the song much justice.
I bet that's what you said before. I doubt it. Yeah, if history is any indicator, you're pulling it off perfectly. But "Try a Little Tenderness" is a song that a man really aggressively suggests that you treat a woman with respect and subtlety and not push her around. But he screams at you when he does it. You
Huh,
ever heard
I
it?
don't think I've heard it either.
Yeah, it ends with him just going, "Try a little tenderness." Just like it can hardly be called singing because he's just in pain about how gentle he wants you to be with a young woman. It's he's not leading by example, which is why it's funny. I explained the joke, thus ruining any chance for it to be funny. Sorry, guys.
Huh.
So that was I was trying to cover for you while you were reading questions.
Okay, well, I've got one.
Oh, good. I did my job. Good.
Yeah, you did well.
Yeah.
Lil actually had this before you told that story, but it's
Oh,
good.
sorry.
And
All right.
I could have used the time to look for more, but I was too busy listening to your great story.
That sucks. Sorry about that.
I need more salamanders, Grandpa! Armfuls and armfuls of salamanders to put in my pants to keep them warm in the winter.
Salamanders aren't warm. They're cold. They're terribly slimy and cold and near the genitals. Be very...
Not if you cook them alive in a fire or an oven.
Wow, that's surprising. I did not think we'd be talking about that this week.
That was
But I'm glad we did. Glad we did.
Phil Mofo is the question asker, and he says, what are our thoughts on the new Prometheus movies? Now, you mentioned that earlier, but we got sidetracked, so I thought I'd bring it back.
Oh,
What
sure.
do we think of the new Prometheus movie, and what do we think about it being marketed as a prequel to the Alien franchise? I saw the trailers.
Uh-huh.
I am wet in my vagina.
Really?
I'm pretty excited. Nervously, a little bit. But I am excited, especially because it totally, 100% unquestionably removes the Aliens vs. Predator films from canon, which just makes me happy.
I didn't know that.
Ignoring them, but
Because there's a different Wayland family member or something?
kind of, because it's the Wayland Corporation, but in the AVP films, that's supposed to be the start of Wayland Yutani. But
Right.
in this, it like actually it's still just the Wayland core.
Oh, right. So none of that stuff
So as
happened.
far as I'm concerned, none of that happened. And yeah, rewrite the ending.
Is that Skeletor
Yeah,
demanding?
yes. Retake Mass Effect, Beastman.
It's unfairly funny.
My choices in Mass Effect 2 are not reflected in Mass Effect 3, and for that we'll retake Mass Effect. He-Man.
Why is it?
The
Why is
DLC was on the disc. Capcom will never be forgiven. Septilion.
it's the nair that gets me
Yeah,
there?
it's the
Yeah.
calibration line. It reminds you how to do it. That's
Uh,
something we learned in acting.
oh, I wonder. Oh, I didn't know that. I'll remember
Uh,
that. Have you seen the new show, Loiter Squad,
no,
featuring the rap group Odd Future?
no, I've never
It
really
kind
heard
of,
about the future.
yeah, Odd Future are young American gents who are quite strange. They think bloody noses, and one of them is named Earl Sweatshirt. They don't fit the average gangsta vibe that you might get from rap music. And now they have a comedy show. And you just reminded me of them a lot for some reason.
Huh.
Yeah, I suggest you watch it. It's like 15 minutes long. You can probably find it online. It's called Loiter Squad. Anyway, to answer your question about Prometheus, hopefully I won't go on too long because we've been doing the show for a while. I have a lot of deep thoughts about not so much the movie because I haven't seen it. The trailers seem fine, but the way people are drawn to it, and I hate to sound like I'm being contrary again, but I can't help but be repelled by it a little bit for the same reasons that a lot of people are repelled by Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword or, rehashes in general. People get on the Zelda series a lot, as you know, Jim, because they almost always like a prior game more than the latest game. Skyward Sword came out. A lot of people said they like Twilight Princess more. Twilight Princess came out. People said they like Ocarina of Time more. Same thing happened with Wind Waker. People said they like Majora's Mask more. Because when you're playing a Zelda game and those old tropes come up, when you find, oh, this is going to be the helper, or oh, this is going to be the boomerang, or oh, this is going to be the new villain. You can't help but think, I liked the old villain more. I like the old person telling me what to do. I like Navi more than I liked Fee or something like that. So while you're playing the game, you get taken out of the game because it reminds you too much of prior games, and you end up thinking about prior games more than you're thinking about the game you're actually trying to take in the moment. And taking you out of the game always makes the game less fun, which makes people then blame the game for being sucky. When the game's actually well made, it's just designed in such a way that it reminds you of other games. That's how I am with Prometheus. When I watch the trailer, I just think that's like Alien except not. And I just wish I was watching Alien right now.
Hmm.
Yep. Long answer,
Well,
but hopefully well thought out.
uh,
Eh,
the
meh.
way I look at it is, and this is someone obsessively like into aliens and the xenomorph side of it, like the alien as a creature, I love,
Yeah,
and yet possibly because of that, like I'm even more fascinated at the idea of something set in the alien universe that doesn't have the aliens at all.
sure.
I just to learn more about the corporation, the company that's been this shadowy thing throughout the series and the space jockey stuff and all that. Like, I'm legit fascinated in the universe that Aliens is set in. It's part of the
Sure.
reason why Aliens is such a popular franchise is it wasn't just a film about aliens in the same way that, Friday the 13th is a film just about the serial killer. There's a whole world attached to aliens.
Oh yeah.
A whole universe, in fact, that we only ever get glimpses of. And fingers crossed, I trust Ridley Scott to not explain too much. Just explain enough to keep us going and invested in the lore, but not over-explain everything. That's actually something that really cheered me up about some of the stuff I've been hearing about Colonial Marines as well. Like, they've really gotten into that. We're going to explain some things, but not over-explain, which is what I think is important in an Aliens thing, because it's part of the fun of Aliens is working out what the xenomorphs are, trying to like discussing what the xenomorphs are, what they do, how they operate, and not knowing, never knowing. Same with
Oh,
something
sure.
like Silent Hill. If
Hmm.
someone straight up explained exactly everything about Silent Hill and what the town is, what the gods are, what their role is, every little detail, I'd probably lose interest. It's the
Sure.
fact there's so much about Silent Hill we don't know. And that's part, again, one of the reasons I like that they're at least keeping it very Xeno light in
Mm.
Prometheus
Hmm.
is it doesn't over explain it and tell me too much and lose them like the mystery and everything. So
Sure.
I'm hoping Prometheus leaves just as many questions as it does, answers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've got some faith in Ridley that he can do that. So I'm excited for Prometheus. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm worried that it's going to be. Did you see the new Thing movie, which is like technically a prequel to the John Carpenter's Thing?
Was it a prequel? I didn't see the new thing. No.
Yeah, it's structurally just like John Carpenter's Thing, except none of the characters are all that likable, and the special effects are CG. It just makes you. It's like a remake without being a remake, and that's what I'm worried Prometheus will be. I'm worried that while I'm watching it, because I don't know if you saw the commercial, they go to they're in very similar spacesuits as those in Alien. They're walking around in a weird place. They see like a big Goliath type thing, and then they see little eggs, and it's just like that is Alien again. If they do that, then I'm going to be bummed. If they have just a touch of that to remind me that it is set in the alien world, but then give me a whole lot of new ideas, then I'll love it. And that's what they should do with Legend of Zelda. They got to drop the companion person telling you how to help the world and just let you play. So many things they need to change with Zelda, huh, Jim? People are burnt out on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need a Prometheus type Zelda thing, I said, with talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm running out of talk power.
It's been a high energy podcast today.
You've
It's
been
been a high
so,
energy. I've been
yeah,
excited when I come back
yeah.
from it. It's funny when I feel like shit, I
Hmm.
get more energy for the podcast. Because I said
Oh, really?
I slept badly this week because of the trip and just traveling's a nightmare. So yeah, I was just full of get up and go. I'm happy to be home and I'm happy to be having a good old chat.
Yeah, it's been a great chat. We got smart, we got stupid, we felt good, we felt bad. We took them there,
Yeah.
we got them back. Everyone feels great now.
Seb Productions asks if we've ever been told we've got a mental illness. Apparently, he's been told he's got social autism.
What is social
I
autism?
have no idea.
People need to stop making up diagnoses. It exhausts me. There's so many people that will
I mean, what
tell.
is autism is a lack of social skills already, isn't it?
Well, sort of. Autism, they don't know. They're not. They can't look at your brain and be like, "Oh, autism." They just take a look at your behaviors and try to guess that if they give you a diagnosis, that
Yeah.
will help you
I mean,
understand
autism
yourself
is
and deal
is
with
generally underdeveloped behaviours, isn't it?
it. Yeah, there is an
I mean, I only know
autistic
a bit of it.
phase.
Like my
Sure.
brother, I've got family members with various sort of things, and
Right.
it's I don't quite get it because frankly, I am a terrible human being, and it makes me too uncomfortable to be near, so I run away.
I've spent a lot of time with people with autism and Asperger's, and I can say that, one person will have four particular autism or Asperger's traits, and then another person with the same diagnosis will have totally different traits, lacking the traits that the other person had, and yet they're both given the same diagnosis. So it really depends on the person. There is an autistic phase of life. I think it's like 1.5 to 3 or something, where you're getting your object relations down and figuring out that other things exist other than yourself. I think the original idea was that people who are autistic never really totally get out of that phase. But then I meet some autistic people that are very skilled at a particular type of empathy. It's not always for human beings. I know a lot of autistic people that relate very strongly with animals, not so much people. But it's a mysterious thing, the mind, Jim. And we come up with labels and try to understand it, and we don't know how to do it right. And calling people social. autism. That's just totally stupid. That's like saying a square with four sides as opposed to another square. It's like if it's autism, there's going to be a social aspect to it. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I got all diagnostic there. Sorry, Jim.
I've had people on the internet try and do armchair psychology and give me some ascribe mental illnesses to me. But I've never been told, at least especially professionally. I've actually been checked out by people and been told that I'm pretty sane, so...
Pretty sane.
Yeah.
You didn't get the full stamp. They have the sane stamp that they put on your paperwork. They have one next to it.
Well, how many other people have been professionally certified mentally capable? Not many. So I'm not saying I'm more qualified than everyone else, but
Sure, you're not saying that.
that is for other people to definitely agree with.
People thought I was crazy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I had big hair, so the vice principal at my junior high said that I was insane.
That's racist.
Yeah, I guess.
That's incredibly racist.
He thought I was smoking reefer too. I never smoked that reefer. I just acted weird sometimes, Had big hair and wore tank tops and stuff. Pretty scary. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
V3 Stir1N3X wrote a novel, so thanks for that.
What?
He wrote a comment that was a big novel without any paragraph breaks. So thanks for doing it. I appreciate your effort.
Sure. Time and effort. Yeah, absolutely.
Levito thanked me for doing the Silent Hill HD collection stuff. And, he asked what publisher we'd like to see take the Silent Hill franchise over.
Yeah, I mentioned Grasshopper.
Yeah, Grasshopper was that's more of a developer. I think he means like the guy is actually in charge of promoting and taking care of the label. There are very few publishers I trust now.
Yeah, me too. I was just thinking. Capcom, no. EA, no. Activision, no.
Funny thing is, Activision deserves a lot of shit. But they do have a habit of letting developers do their own thing and taking some risks.
That's true. That's true.
And Activision would market it, which is more than Konami does. Like they've got the money to put a big marketing effort behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Activision in charge of that might not be terrible.
It would be better than Konami.
It would be a kind of Faustian deal with the devil, but...
It might pay off, though. Yeah.
That's what Silent Hill is all about.
That's true. It's about the devil, I think. Or hell.
Well,
or
you have evil choices and things.
Yeah, true. That you do. And almost all of them. I don't remember any evil choices in the first one, really.
Just not for the main character, anyway.
That's true. Yeah. I wonder if Square Enix handled... they handled Deus Ex pretty well. Didn't they publish that?
Yeah.
They treated it all right. Yeah. They might be all right. They might make some good toys from it afterwards, too. They make some pretty good toys. That's all I got on that one. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Flash Klein says, why haven't you wrote a novel yet? Yahtzee has. Is it because you rotted your brain with energy drinks? I don't have time. I've got a novel I'm writing. I am writing one. But I haven't had time to get to it because I'm doing a million jobs.
That's a really backhanded compliment. He wants you to write a novel. He would probably read it.
Yeah.
Yahtzee wrote a novel? Is that any good?
I don't know. I haven't read it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have time to even read now. It's quite upsetting because I'm really excited about what I'm writing. I've shared a few lines on Facebook and what have you, and people respond well to the little snippets I've shown. I'm constantly thinking about it, but I just haven't had time to sit down and write it, which is terrible as a writer. Like, you should never do what I'm not doing. You should always do what I'm not doing. But yeah, I am writing all the time, and when you can only write in your spare time, but your main job is writing, it's a difficult situation.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I need to just carry a netbook around with me, I think, and just write more casually rather than sitting in the office and doing it. I want to try and get hardcore onto it at some point when I can afford to take some actual time off. I'll
Yeah.
definitely get back on it. Because I'm definitely excited about it. I've never been this committed to a narrative idea that I've ever had. Because I've attempted books and things many times, but this is the only one I've seen through to as far as I've seen it through to.
Awesome. That's exciting. How many Facebook? How's that whole Facebook thing work? So
Oh,
can,
I saw you slagging Facebook off in emails the other day, trying to
Scott, you use
getting into another
computers,
site.
right? What do
Yeah,
you do with it? You connect with the social strangers or something? Networking, social networking.
social
Yeah.
networking.
How many Facebook friends do you have?
Somewhere over the 2,000 range.
Oh, that's a good amount.
That's all right.
So I should be on there uh, boarding it up.
You
What
should
do you
do.
call it?
People talk about you on my Facebook page.
They do.
Yeah, of course they do.
Well, that's awfully nice. I just can't want to do it. I've almost done it many times, but Twitter and writing for Destructoid, I think, is as far as I can go. Facebook. I should do it, right? Don't have iPhone yet either. It's hard being old. All this new things happening. You're supposed to touch it and write on it and be with it, cuddle it, accept it. I'll get there. Just give me some time, Jim. Just give me some time. You still there, Jim?
Yeah. George Gill, sorry. I apologies if I mispronounced his name. He asked a really good question, but it's so in depth we won't do it justice with now that we're all tired. It's about
no. I want to hear it.
okay. He lives in South America, and he's finds it quite remarkable that he finds our show so relatable. You know, even though I'm British and you're North American. But he's got questions. He says gaming culture in Latin America, released for adults, is as stale as owning an HD console only to play FIFA and Call of Duty. Because if you play anything else, you are a kid in a grown man's body. I guess he's talking about like the social pressures in Latin America.
Sure.
Okay. He says, do we think it's a good idea for Destructoid to delegate people to expand to Latin American audiences and create a richer, more open gaming culture? I guess the question is, I don't know why I said I guess what he's asking, and then I was just going to repeat the exact question.
Yeah, you're wrapping your head around the question, sounds like.
I told you I can't do it justice. I'm just tired now.
No, that was justice. You did some fine justice just now. That was good divine justice. I think it would be great if we had people from Latin American culture to write games from that perspective. One of the things I've always liked about Destructoid is that the only effort to curb what kind of content we put on the site, from what I can tell, is that there's always been an attempt to make sure that there's writers who play video games for all different kinds of reasons on the site. Maurice Tan and I don't think there is one video game that we both like. Every video game I like, he hates. And I can't think of one game he's talked positively about that I've ever wanted to play. And that's not a mistake. I was chosen for the site, and so was Maurice, in order to cover that. But we haven't gotten to doing that in terms of global culture as of yet, because we're not a rich site with endless resources, so we can't go out and actively kind of hit the streets in San Salvador and find people to write about video games for us. But if people were to, start off as interns and try to move up the ranks who fit that description, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, everything Jonathan said. I agree with all that.
That's sad for me to hear that in wherever he's speaking from, that you've got to play just the most normal video games, whatever normal means, or you're considered childish and weird. That there's that kind of gamer on gamer crime. I'm so sick of that, Jim. We got to stop judging what kind of games people play and who they are for playing them.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what we don't want done to us. It's so hypocritical. We demand that the mainstream, that Fox 25 not judge us for playing video games, and then you find out someone likes Mario Brothers and you start making fun of them for it. It's totally hypocritical. It's very annoying.
No, I totally agree with that. people don't realize the irony that they sound like a Jack Thompson or a Leland G when they start slagging off other people for having less valid game experiences than them. You're no better than Roger Ebert saying video games are banal and not worth consideration as art when you're slagging someone off for liking a game you didn't like.
Right.
So that is sad, and it's a shame that it's like that in Latin America. I did not know that, and that's sad. And I'd be interested in covering that as a story if Jorgil,
Jorge?
I just keep saying, hola, hola. I just keep saying, this isn't offensive. I'm just throwing every pronunciation out there until one is right, and then I am being progressive. But I'm very interested in that. If you'd like to discuss that with me, hit me up on Twitter at Jim Sterling, or one word, and we can, I can give you further contact details and talk to you about that, because I find that kind of interesting.
Are you slowly masturbating now?
What? Oh no, I was doing just putting my hands together.
Oh, it sounded like a really slow, deliberate, like almost not even.
Oh yeah,
stimulating.
Tell me more about Latin America's social problems. Oh.
Yeah, but it wasn't even that sexy. It was just like a bored masturbation, which I guess some people might do.
No, I've had mine for the day.
Oh, good.
Don't worry about that, listeners.
They were worried. They were worried that you hadn't yet. That you might be upset about. Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't think that was going to happen either.
Ooh, Christmas. Child support. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Again, because a lot of people don't understand this, they'll hit me up on Twitter and Facebook, and I don't really have time for that. There is a thread on Destructoid.com. Usually every Tuesday. It was obviously Wednesday this week because we were a bit late because the Aliens event that I was at. Every Tuesday when we record, there is a post goes up called Podtoid Records Today, and then some permutation on saying, ask us questions or whatever. That's where you ask questions to be read out in the latter half of the show. Anywhere else, chances are I'm going to forget them, not see them, miss them, just not have time to get to them. So please put them in that thread. It's very easy to make an account at Destructoid and post. So there you go. Thank you for listening, though. As always, you can see us on Destructoid.com. You can see Sup Holmes, which is a show every Sunday that Jonathan Holmes does. It's a live chat show stroke podcast.
Stroke?
Yeah. What time is that?
That show comes on Destructoid.com and twitch.tv/Destructoid. 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll have to do the math for those of you that are in the middle of the United States, or God forbid you're in England or in Australia or something. We're doing this Sunday with Jules Watsham, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's the co-founder of Renegade Kid, which is a really interesting company. They've done a lot of stuff that's teetered on becoming mainstream, but never quite found success there, like the Dimension series on DS and a game called Moon, which I think they produced like 6,000 copies of it for some reason. And it's actually a pretty good game, just no market for it with all the piracy on the DS and whatnot. They were going to make a Dracula game a while back that our own Nick Chester was sure was actually a Blackula game. I'll be sure to ask Jules about that. Their latest thing is Mutant Muds on the 3DS eShop. It's actually done really well. It's kind of a retro 3D platformer. They have a new game coming out.
Good things. Tony Ponce really liked that.
Not to slag off on Jules, who's being on the show just a few days, but I was not confident I was going to like it, and the first maybe 5 minutes, I was like, it's just kind of too slow-paced, and it doesn't have enough of a gameplay hook. But after 5 minutes, it really gets deep and interesting in terms of the challenges that they put out to you. So yeah, it's a really good game. I'd recommend it. So Jules will be on. You can tune in to the chat and talk to us and ask questions and have them be answered live on the show. And after that, we put it out as a podcast, which is on Libsyn.com. You can subscribe to that and listen to the podcast. We just did one with the developer of Octodad and the developer of Hunger Games and Cannonballed. So there's plenty of podcasts on there to listen to. So yeah, that's the thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For myself, you can always see my reviews on Destructo. We've got Warriors Orochi 3 that's up by the time this is out. If you go to escapistmagazine.com every Monday, I do a video show, The Gymquisition, which is relatively popular. Otherwise, just check us out. Please keep doing us nice reviews on iTunes. That really helps us out. You can buy an app for this show, which is like $2. You get it on the Amazon Marketplace. You can't get it on Google Play because their version was fucked. So if you are going to buy it, like I say, you don't. I've tried to do extra stuff for buyers, but logistically it cannot be done. So if you are buying it, it's literally just to give us a little bit of support, which we're very grateful for, and it is fantastic those that have done that. So thank you, as always, and we will, whether you like it or not, see you next week. Thank you.
Yes. Goodbye.
And then you say you're not snooty.
How am I snooty?
Yeah, goodbye.
I thought I was being Mr. Rogers, like, so long, everybody. Just being a friendly
Sir
neighbor.
Lord Ponsonby Rogers.
Oh, it's hard to be friendly. People think that you're faking it, that you're being like a superior guy.